Hello everybody, and welcome to the video that is going to confirm that the 300 character tournament is indeed the final tournament. The final tournament on our channel for Yu-Gi-Oh! CPU tournaments, that playlist that we've had for such a long time, is going to be 300 characters, and it's going to be double elimination. For those of you that don't know what double elimination means, that means that if your favorite character loses, they will be moved into a loser's bracket where they can continue to fight their way out, which means they don't get knocked out of the tournament after one loss. However, if they lose in the loser's bracket, they're gone for good. So this 300 character tournament will have over 600 duels, and this video is going to introduce all 300 contestants. And the reason I'm going to introduce all 300 contestants is because in this video, I would like for you guys to vote in the comments for your #1 favorite character that you would like to see win. And you can only vote for one character. I only want you to put "I vote for" and then the character you want. And you need to be specific because there are characters that use multiple decks. So there are 4 Jadens in the tournament, so you can't just say "I vote for Jaden." That doesn't help me. You have to say "I vote for Jaden Elemental Hero." "I vote for Jaden Neos." "I vote for Masked Hero Jaden" or Supreme King Jaden. Any of those guys will work, but you have to specify who you want to vote for, especially with a lot of characters. You can't say "I want Yugi." Do you want Yugi Muto, Little Yugi? Or do you want Yami Yugi or Atem? You got to specify who you want. So the reason I want to know who you guys are going to vote for is because this is the last tournament. So I do have a prize for the crazy person that is able to guess who will win this tournament. And the prize is the save file. Because we've been hosting these tournaments on my old computer, because we've been doing them for 2 years, and that old computer is falling apart and is going to be retired. So I'm going to delete everything on that computer, including the save file. But before it gets deleted, I'm going to give out the save file to whoever guesses who wins the tournament. You only get to vote for one person, and if you get it right, I will send you the save file, whether or not you could use it or not. What you do with the save file after the fact, it's all you. However, if no one guesses it right, then all 300 of these decks, all of these characters, all this work we put in over the past 2 years, gone. I won't have a backup, it's just gone. So, I want you guys to vote for your favorite characters, and this video is going to show you the 300 that will be participating. But, I will say, before I start the 300 characters, every single character that has a deck that I can edit in those 200 deck slots, so there's like 200 characters that I can edit, are going to be getting buffs. And I mean buffs. They're going to be getting a lot stronger. I'm talking Abydos the Third is going to be a threat. So I'm trying to make it so this tournament you actually can vote for your favorite character and they will be considered viable. There are very few characters that probably will not be able to be considered viable even with my buffs, and that is because I'm still making them use their deck's idea. Like, Abydos will be a lot stronger, but he's still using Spirit of the Pharaoh, so that's going to slow him down. I'm going to make Professor Satir and his Aitsu card stronger, but I can't do much. So some of the decks may not seem as strong as the other decks that also receive buffs, but every character is going to receive a buff. Without further ado, I would like to go over the 300 characters that will be participating in this tournament, and by the end of the video, I hope you have one character you're willing to vote for, because I will have all of these votes calculated by my computer, and they will tell me exactly who voted for who. And then by the end of the final tournament, the 300 character tournament, I will send out the save file to anybody that was right. It's going to be extremely hard to be right. You're one vote out of 300 characters. Good luck. And honestly, thank you all for being viewers for so long. I hope you guys have enjoyed the tournaments. We only got one left. Let's go over the 300 characters. To begin the 300 characters, we are going to talk about Odin. Odin is a character from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's Dual Transer. She has all of the dragons. She has Black Rose Dragon, she has Crimson Nova Dragon, or Crimson Red Dragon, whatever, Archfiend Dragon, Stardust Dragon, 5 God Dragon, and a Red Eyes Darkness Dragon. Her deck is dragon heavy and powerful. The next character is Jinbei. Jinbei's deck is an Ojama deck. An Ojama deck built around Ojama country, flipping people's attack and defense stats while also having a lot of fusion support to make Ojama Duo, or Ojama Knight and Ojama King. Yoshizo is the next character. He uses an Ally of Darkness deck. Yoshizo's Ally of Darkness deck is pretty effective against light decks, which a lot of characters in the tournaments use light decks, and has some easy synchro support. The next character is Camula. Camula uses a powerful vampire deck, and with her vampire deck she has invincible monsters like Vampire Lord that come back if it is destroyed by not battle. She has been very good in the tournaments, and with her buffs and her super rare card Illusion Gate, which nobody really has seen unless you watch the anime, which is a Raigeki that Monster Reborns at the same time, and yes, I know how busted that sounds. She has won many duels. The next character is Tanya. Tanya is an Amazonas deck that takes advantage of Amazonas Queen's invincibility while also keeping the field full with Amazonas Village. So, using the field spell, she is able to get more and more Amazonas cards out, and using the Queen, they are all invincible in terms of battle. She is a very effective deck. The next character is the first ever champion Blair. Blair is the Lightsworn user of our tournament. She runs triple Judgment Dragon, and you know she always has a chance to win the tournaments. Her big change to her deck is that I made it more consistent with less breaks. The next character is Jim Crocodile Cook, the People's Champion, the second ever champion on our channel, and Jim Crocodile Cook uses a Fossil Fusion rock deck. His rock deck has Fossil Dyna, which stops special summons, and honestly his Fossil Fusion monsters have great effects other than the weak one. The next character in our tournament to talk about is Panic. Panic is a boring character with a bad deck. However, with my buffs, I've made it a defensive deck focused around Castle of Dark Illusions and obviously all the cards he used in the anime. His only beater monster being King of Yamimakai, which can still kill things, but overall, who cares? The next character is a member of the Big Five. It's Lecter. Lecter's deck has a lot of different support as he does run Injection Fairy Lily, the legendary Jinzo card to stop traps, which works on a lot of characters in this tournament, and of course Satellite Cannon, a monster that is invincible against low-level monsters or no-level monsters like XYZ cards, and is super effective against them because it could slowly build up damage and then destroy your opponent in one attack, especially with his limiter removal. The next character in our tournament to talk about is Cyrus Truesdale. Cyrus Truesdale uses a Roid deck, and those Roid monsters have been roided up after the buffs, and it made it so his fusion support was better so he can get out his fusion Roids. Now, his Roid monsters are not the most consistent Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but they are pretty damn good. The next character in our tournament will be Jean-Claude Magnum from the Battle City series of Duel Monsters. Jean-Claude Magnum uses an upgraded ninja deck, and his ninja cards have many effects that completely stop your opponent from playing the game, while also allowing you to special summon your monsters. The next member we'll talk about is the Big Five Crump. Crump is known as the strongest member of the Big Five in our tournament, and he's only gotten stronger with new Penguin support. So, he's got strong Penguin cards, lots of flip effect cards that help him out, and overall some buffing cards to make his Penguins hit harder. So his Crump is pretty damn good, plus he runs lots of Cold Wave. The next person is Vivian Wong. Vivian Wong uses a Dark Blade deck, which doesn't sound good on paper, but actually has a lot of support thanks to all the Warrior equip spells and Union support cards for her Pitch Black Dragon and, of course, her Kiryu card. The next character up is Abydos III, one of the weakest members of the Shadow Riders, but for some reason has found some fans. His Spirit of the Pharaoh deck has been buffed around his level 2 monsters, and since they are normal monsters, he has received normal monster support. His boss monster Spirit of the Pharaoh can help bring them out easily, and he has the power to make up for it, thanks to certain spell cards. The next character we're going to talk about is Dark Magician Girl. Dark Magician Girl uses a Dark Magician Girl deck with support from Dark Magician of Chaos, and of course, stuff like that. She has a lot of spellcaster support, and she is the only person to run a field spell that says if you have a face-up spellcaster, your opponent cannot use spell cards. In other words, she completely locks down some decks. The next character is Professor Viper, a character who needed lots of buffs from me because his Venom deck is actual garbage. However, now with extra damage equals reptile support, it made it super easy to get his Venomaga out. And honestly, if he ever gets out the girl version, he'll be unstoppable. The next character we're going to talk about is Supreme King Jaden. And if you're going to vote for this Jaden, make sure you put Supreme King or Evil Hero Jaden in the name. Supreme King Jaden is a monster in our tournaments. His evil heroes are super strong and have built-in protection thanks to Dark Fusion and Dark Calling. Now, honestly, they are not the craziest cards compared to some of the XYZ or Pendulum monsters we've seen, but they're a lot faster because honestly, he could fuse with just Dark Fusion, just Dark Calling. He has a lot of support with Stratos. He has a lot of support with Evil Hero, Inferno Wing, and honestly, all of his Evil Hero stuff is really good. And he's a multiple-time champion. Never count this man out. The next character we're going to talk about is Raphael. Raphael, I gave him everything I could. His Guardians are still going to suck, other than Eidos. Eidos is amazing, and he uses it well. The next character to talk about is Noah Kaiba. Noah Kaiba uses a spirit deck, but I've toned down a lot of the spirit cards that aren't good, and I've upgraded his deck to have more Shinado support because his ritual monster Shinado, the King of the Higher Plane, is actually really good in these tournaments, as most characters can't get above 3,000 attack, even at their best. So 3,300 will put him in the lead. The next character we're going to talk about is the final villain of Duel Monsters, Dark Master Zork. You could just call him Zork if you want, as long as you put his name down. If you're voting for Zork, understand you're going to get a lot of monsters like Doom Caliber Knight, Slate Warrior, Zoma the Spirit Trap card. He's got a lot of burn/damage/destruction effects. He's going to have a lot of special summoning power, and his ritual monster himself, Dark Master Zork, has 5 chances to have a good effect and 1 chance to blow up the whole field on his side. Overall, he has won many duels, not yet a tournament, but with these buffs, maybe it's possible. Kaiba Man is going to be the next character you vote for. This isn't Seto Kaiba, this isn't Kaiba, this isn't Priest Seto, this is Kaiba Man. Kaiba Man is specifically from GX and has mostly Blue Eye support with the Ritual Monster and Kaiba Man. So he runs Kaiba Man itself to special summon Blue Eyes, and he runs the Ritual Monster to also help get Blue Eyes out. He is very good at getting Blue Eyes out, but once he gets it out, it's all up to damage. The next character to talk about is Merrick Ishtar. Now, I'm talking Merrick, not Yami Merrick. If you want Yami Merrick, then you need to type Yami Merrick. This is Merrick Ishtar, and he uses an End of Anubis deck, or a graveyard stopping deck. The End of Anubis is literally a card that stops your opponent from using their graveyard. It's amazing. And he also uses Vanity's Fiend to stop his opponents from special summoning. If anything, he is a counter deck. He is used to stop opponents from playing the game. However, his counter cards are both tribute monsters, so he does need some time to get going. But I've added a lot of support to make those tribute monsters easier to summon, so he's going to be a menace in these tournaments. It's about time we talked about the king of games. That's right, everybody. It's Yami Yugi. Not little Yugi, not Yugi Muto, Yami Yugi. And Yami Yugi has a complete Dark Magician deck. His spellcasters are all based around helping Dark Magician get to the field and using their power. He does not need many buffs, but yet he still receives some. This guy is going to be an absolute menace in this tournament. He has won so many tournaments, and he's won big tournaments like the Neo Battle City. The next character we're going to talk about is Carly Carmine. What an interesting character using Fortune Fairies, normal monsters with 0 attack and 0 defense. Most of her support comes to draw power and burn cards, which are going to make her deck a lot more consistent. And she still is running her ultimate combo with Miracle Stone, making it so she could have 5 monsters with 15,000 attack at once. She's pulled it off in the tournaments before, and let's see if she could do it again in the big tournament. The next character we're going to talk about is a joke character that's no joke anymore. This character, Johnny Steps, has so much fusion support and so many fusion buffing cards that he actually is a menace in some of our tournaments, even receiving top 8 in qualifiers. Johnny Steps has received noticeable buffs, giving him more burn damage on top of the fact that he could special summon fusions easier. He's going to be actually someone you could vote for in this tournament. The next character to vote for is Yugi Muto, Little Yugi, and his Gaia the Fierce Knight polar deck, as it's a dark deck and a light deck, so he could summon his legendary Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the Beginning. This Yugi is the only character I have allowed to use Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the Beginning. When he gets it out, he's an absolute menace, and even without it, his deck has so much removed from play support that he actually counters some people's decks that require the graveyard. Yugi Muto has won a tournament with this deck, and it's only been buffed, so I would say he is actually someone that could win the entire thing. The next character to talk about is Seto Goddamn Kaiba, the man who has won the most tournaments up to a point. He's kind of tied, but whatever. He has won the most tournaments. His deck is so light focused that he can run Honest, and he does. He has a lot of support, and he uses the XYZ Dragon Cannon, which you would think would hold him back, but actually works really well with his light deck. So his light deck, using the XYZ Dragon Cannon support, can help him get rid of back row as well as monsters. So he's going to be someone to look out for. Seto Kaiba could easily take this tournament. Joey Wheeler is the next character to talk about. This is the character I will be voting for myself. Even if he wins, though, I'm still deleting the save file. You guys have to vote for him for the save file to be safe. But I'm voting for him because Joey Wheeler is using a Flame Swordsman deck. However, his Flame Swordsman deck is mostly just a warrior deck that is built around fire warrior monsters. And he has a lot of support for it, and his monsters have a ton of attack points, and he's got his luck-based trap fairy box to back him up, as well as some of his more iconic trap cards, the Battle Guard cards, which aren't technically his, but the Battle Guards were, so they are now his. So he's going to be someone to look out for. Joey can and better win this tournament. The next character to talk about is My Valentine, a character who has won so many tournaments recently that she is horrifying for many people. If you like Harpy ladies, this is your girl. You don't need to look anywhere else. She is so good in the tournaments. She beats people by turn 6, making sure they don't even get access to their deck. She has stopped so many characters, and very few times has she even lost duels, and only has she lost duels to decks that usually counter a fast strategy. So, if you want to vote for Mai, there's no reason not to. Her deck's busted. My buddy Bones is up next in the tournaments. This guy is so much fun to watch. Yes, he uses a very old school zombie deck with one new support card, which I've allowed him to have, which is Dragon Necro. He only has one of them in his deck, and he's used it to perfection. Bones is a very interesting person to watch because his deck is really just old school cards. I'm not even joking. Other than Dragon Necro, the rest of the cards are as classic as can be, and he makes them work. I don't even know how to buff this guy. These old cards are doing the job. So, we'll watch him go. The next character to talk about is a very interesting one. It's Bandit Keith, and Bandit Keith's deck is based around high power machine monsters. However, his deck has received buffs from me where he has Power Bond access, he has limiter removal, his Metamorphs are still actually just viable cards, they're really good. He's got his Time Machines, which help against battle when he dies in battle. He is a very effective duelist and overall is going to be a menace in these tournaments, especially since I gave him more Blast Spheres, making it so he has burn monsters. The next character to talk about is Rex Goddamn Raptor. This old school Dino Duelist has actually gotten second place multiple times. He is a pretty good Dino Duelist, but is known to just brick from time to time. So I've made his deck a little bit less bricky and given him more access to support spells and traps, which is what he desperately needed. It's not what he used in the anime, but he's still using all the same Dino monsters from the anime. No new dinos, old dinos only. So we'll see how he does. The next guy is Maximilian Pegasus, the creator of card games. Ever since I've taken out the stall support, I don't allow people to stall anymore, he has actually suffered a little because that means I took out Spirit Barrier. However, his Toon Kingdom card has been invincible and literally has led him to 2 championships. He has won 2 tournaments. He's been to Worlds, and he's someone you should vote for. If you care about a guy who has a Toon deck with relinquished support that doesn't get in the way, you're going to want to go for him. The only time he ever loses is against opponents that have a lot of spell trap card destruction. And honestly, even against those people, he still has relinquished. So, we'll see what happens this tournament. This character is so interesting. It's Yami Bakura. Yami Bakura is a character who I say is not a one-trick pony. He tries to win most of his duels by Destiny board, and usually he does. but he has shown us that he can win by battle in, the most recent qualifier tournaments. And the way he wins by battle is through his Dark Necrofear card and his Dark Ruler Hades. He has actually been able to win not many fights, but most of his fights, and his Destiny board deck has countered a lot of the strong decks in these tournaments because a lot of the strong decks take a lot longer to get started, and he just wins faster than them. The next character to talk about is Weevil Underwood, a very interesting character who has made many accomplishments, but none more than making it to Worlds in Season 5. His Season 5 accomplishments have shown that his upgraded deck is something to behold, and even with more upgrades thanks to me, he is going to be an actual menace. He does have one stall strategy that I have allowed, which is his Insect Barrier strategy, but he only gets one Insect Barrier in his deck. And overall, he is able to beat his opponents down thanks to his Armored Bee card and his special summoning, allowing him to get out Insect Queen with DNA Surgery support. The next character to talk about is Taya Gardner. Taya Gardner is a very interesting character due to the fact that she is an old school equip spell deck character. I'm talking Maha Velo with United We Stand with freaking Mage Power, and she makes it work, and she's won a big tournament with it, the squad battles, and she has done so well for herself. She is a menace in a lot of the tournaments, even beating characters like Seto Kaiba, and honestly, I would love to see how she does now with a lot of buffs. The next character to talk about is Tristan Taylor. Tristan Taylor is now going to be receiving the most buffs I've ever had to give a character, and honestly, they're all going to be machine monster buffs to make sure that his boss monster combo, the Super Robo Yaro, Super Robo Lady, actually can do some damage because he's getting some damage buffs, including fusion support buffs so that he can get them out easier. He'll still run Cyber Commander, but I'm not going to make him run 3 anymore, so get ready, guys. Tristan's going to be a menace. It is time to talk about Yami Merrick. Now, this is not Merrick Ishtar, this is Yami Merrick. So if you are voting for Yami Merrick, make sure you specify Yami Merrick. Yami Merrick runs an intense burn deck, which only got more intense as I've added a little bit new support to his deck that involves more burn monsters rather than just spells and traps. So watch out for Yami Merrick. He's already a champion without these new monsters, but now it's going to be even easier for him to get you down to 0 life points. The next character to talk about is Odeon. Odeon has suffered because his trap deck has not been very good with his Mystical Beast of Circuit. Now, his Mystical Beast of Circuit is a good card if he can pull it off, but it just needs too much because of that spell card. So overall, his support has been added is Burn. I've given him more burn effects and burn trap cards to make his deck more consistent. So now he has more than one win condition, and he doesn't just have to rely on getting Mystical Beast of Circuit. Though when he does get Mystical Beast of Circuit, the duel's over. He removes you from play and he gains power. You die. This is one of the most interesting characters I had to buff. It's Grandpa. Grandpa's deck has no pathetic cards, which means I didn't change anything. Grandpa's deck still has all those old, not pathetic normal monsters, and he has no effect monsters in his deck. But in order to achieve better support, he has all the draw power he needs to draw, I guess he has one Exodia, to draw the pieces of Exodia. In other words, Grandpa is now full auto, Heart of the Underdog, draw me a goddamn Exodia, win the duel, with support to help him get those cards. In other words, Grandpa's cracked now. The next character to talk about is Mako Tsunami. This guy is a freaky fish guy, and he has actually won a tournament before, but now I'm going to buff his ass with more whale cards. And that means that his whale support is going to go way up. I know his ritual monster is actually his biggest nerf because it's hard to summon, but at the end of the day, he has so many other cards to make up for it that he's going to be a menace in our tournaments. I hope you guys are excited to see him because he's going to be a good one. Mako Tsunami has been getting whale buffs. The next character to talk about is Ashizu Ishtar, and Ashizu is interesting because I've given her more deck out support and let her keep her Earth Fairies because deck out support is going to give her access to her Reversal of Fate card. Is that even the card's name? I don't remember. Reversal of Graves? I don't remember the name. Literally, it just flips the graveyard with the deck, and basically your opponent's going to have like 15 cards left in their deck and have no hand, no nothing. So it's pretty interesting, and a Shizu has received that support. The next character is Esperoba, the Jinzo Master. There are a few characters in this tournament that use Jinzo, but none like Esperoba. Esperoba has burn effects, he has steal your monster effects, he gets access to extra brain control, and has a mind control, but the problem is that the AI doesn't use mind control very properly. I don't know how to help it, but he does have it, and he uses Gift of the Martyr support to make it work. So, his deck is very effective. He has actually been to almost every Worlds, and now he has extra machine and special summon support, and more Jinzo cards, making him more viable. Esperoba is someone you actually could vote for, and you know what? He might even win the tournament. The next character is interesting. This is Loomis. Now, Loomis does have the mask cards just like Umbra, but they've been split up, and Loomis's cards are going to be based around the Ritual monster, which means he's getting more Ritual support for his deck to make it easy to summon the Mass Beast. The next character to talk about is a rare hunter, Arcana, a man who went to Worlds this season of Season 5. Arcana is an interesting character because he uses Dark Magician just like Yamayugi, but he uses the red Dark Magician and it's his strongest card. However, he has way more Dark Magician support now, and I've given him access to cards that'll make it easier for him to summon them and easier for him to pull off his Thousand Knives and Dark Magic attack combos. In other words, he's ready to fight for this tournament. The next character to talk about is Strings. Strings is going to be an interesting one as his deck is all about revival cards. He is going to get Cypher the Sky Dragon out because he runs triple Card of Safe Return. He runs lots of Call of the Haunted, Premature Burial. Basically anything that brings his monster back from the grave, he's going to run it. And triple Revival Jam. In other words, he has a lot of draw support. And I buffed him even further, so don't you worry, he's going to have even more draw power than he used to have, and he's going to be an absolute menace. Now, if he gets out Slifer like he's done in many of our tournaments, he's going to win. Because honestly, with this new support, it's going to be very easy to get Slifer the Sky Dragon out. The next character to talk about is a character that's a jack of all trades. It's Rebecca Hawkins. Rebecca Hawkins' deck is so goddamn interesting. She is so good at Yu-Gi-Oh! She runs triple Sangan, triple Witch of the Black Forest. She runs triple everything. She's busted. She has triple Morphing Jar, triple Cyber Jar. She literally is a deck out deck. She is a burn deck with her Fire Princess, Draining Shield, Solemn Wishes. She is a beat you to death deck with Injection Fairy Lily and Shadow Goal after throwing all of her cards away. She has the ripped in half Blue Eyes White Dragon in her deck. Yeah, I let it be legal. And you know what? She even runs a card that messes with enemy AI called Millennium Shield. When that card is face up in defense mode, because it has 0 attack, the AI in this game will not pop it with spell, trap, or monster effects. I do not know why. The next character to talk about is someone I am worried about for this tournament because he might actually win and it would piss me off. It is triple Exodia Seeker with the deck he used in the anime with even more draw support from me. In other words, somehow he's even more consistent. He scares me. The only way this man is going to lose in this tournament is if he draws only Exodia pieces that are copies of each other and then dies in 3 turns. Because after those 3 turns, he's going to Graceful Charity, Pot of Greed, Upstart Goblin, Jar of Greed, frickin' I don't know. He's gonna get Exodia immediately. This man scares me. I might have made him a little too strong. The next character to talk about is Gozaburo Kaiba. Gozaburo Kaiba was a hard character to buff because he runs an Exodia Necros deck, which we've never seen him pull off. However, he also runs a chess deck in terms of, he runs cards that have Rook in the name, Queen in the name, King in the name, and I managed to give him some support that makes his deck more of a deck out beater deck, which means it'll be easier to summon Exodia Necros and it'll be easier to beat your opponent by throwing away all their best options to the graveyard. The next character to talk about is Serenity Goddamn Wheeler. Serenity Wheeler does horrible in our tournaments. Honestly, her Lady deck, monsters that have Lady in the name, stuff like that, does not perform too well unless she gets out her boss Saint Joan. So I've decided to focus more on giving her heal burn effects, and on top of that, giving her easier access to her Saint Joan boss monster. Her deck has become much more consistent, and even though Saint Joan isn't the strongest card, 2800 beats a lot of people in this tournament. Hell, the guy we were talking about earlier, Esperoba, his boss monster has 2600 in Jinzo Lord, so she could overpower Esperoba if she had to. The next character to talk about is a wild card. It's Duke Devlin. Now, in our tournaments, Duke Devlin uses the Space Fighters. Not BES Corps, but Space Fighters in Falcon Beta. He uses British Commander Fighter. I don't know. There's a bunch of weird ones out there. And, of course, Gradius. However, we also have his spell trap support being mostly coin flips and dice rolls. And he runs the Brutal Dice Jar card. So he is a wild card to bet on in this tournament, but because most of his deck is luck-based, he could win, and he runs triple sixth sense. Yes, he could actually just destroy you if he gets lucky. The next character to talk about is the winner of the Shadow Realm tournament. The biggest tournament I've ever thrown is 250 characters until this one is thrown. And she won that tournament. Her deck is Cyber Angels mixed in with a high-level fairy called Splendid Venus, mixed in with other support like Royal Decree, Marshmallow, Ritual support cards. She is brutal. She has so many ways of winning the duel. She has Destruction, she has Piercing, she has Weaken the opponent's monster, she has Buff her own monster, she has Invincibility Stall with Marshmallow and burn cards for days. She actually can win duels in multiple ways and has multiple counter cards to stop her opponent. And that is why she won the biggest tournament we've ever thrown. And she's back and she's stronger. I'm scared for her too. Seeker and her scare me. The next character to talk about is Jinzo himself, the Duel Spirit from GX. This Duel Spirit is a Jinzo that does use the Jinzo deck pretty appropriately, but has access to cards like Gores, has access to cards like Malice Doll of Demise, which he used in the anime, with a lot of burn support like Ectoplasmer. Ectoplasmer can shut down certain decks and other people's decks because they rely on one or two monsters. So if your opponent's one of those people that rely on Spirit Reaper or Marshmallow to stall, they can't. Or the Fool to stall, they can't. Ectoplasma will kill it. And honestly, Jinzo has gone really far in tournaments. He's been to Worlds before, and with these new buffs, he's going to be a menace. The next character to talk about is Hellkaiser Zane. Now, this character, you need to write down Hellkaiser or Zane Cyber Dark. I might even accept Dark Zane. But if you just write down Zane, I'm not going to know who you're talking about. You must specify Cyber Dark Zane. If you want the other Zane, say Cyber Dragon Zane, or say Light Zane, Obelisk Blue Zane, anything that isn't just Zane. Cyber Darks, man, they're really good. Like, they're really bad in regular Yu-Gi-Oh, but in this game, they've been getting really good. And he has messed up so many people in tournaments. He's been top 4 easily, and he runs 5 God Dragon support, and he just beats everybody. And now that I've given him more support for Cyber Darks, for dragon monsters, for stopping your opponent from having anything but dragons, he's gonna wreck some people. The next character to talk about is Mina, and Mina uses the Dark Lords. Now, Mina's Dark Lords are high-level monsters that are just beater monsters that special summon even more cards like Asmodeus and Superbia, and there's even more. However, one of her most annoying things is that she runs Archlord, Christia, and Light and Darkness Dragon. And honestly, she is a menace in these tournaments. She's been to Worlds, she's gotten second place in Worlds, and her deck has now been supported to make it so it's easier for her to summon high-level monsters. She also runs Royal Decree. The next character to talk about is an interesting one. It's Chancellor Shepard. Chancellor Shepard is focused on the Cyber Ogre cards, and in order to make his deck more consistent, I've given him more Cyber support that isn't Cyber Dragon specifically. His Cyber Ogre cards are actually pretty good because the Fusion monster has a living Metalmorph effect where it steals half of the opponent's attack points. And honestly, because he has Power Bond support, he has limited removal support, he's going to be a menace in these tournaments. Or this tournament, I should say. There's no more after this. The next character to talk about is Yasmin from GX, the Duel Spirit. She is known as the Gravekeeper Assailant, and that's right. In this tournament, she is going to be the only Gravekeeper deck you're going to see, and she has all the Gravekeeper support this game has to offer now. I'm not limiting her deck. She's going to have Visionary, she's going to have all that fun spell and trap, and honestly, she's going to counter so many decks. And I've given her triple Terraforming to make sure she can get Necro Valley on top of triple Commandant. she is going to be an absolute menace. She is going to be able to shut down opponents' decks, and with her Royal Decree spell card, she might actually just completely stop people from playing the game. She's done it before in tournaments with a Nerf deck. This is her at her strongest. Be afraid of Yasmin. The next character to talk about is Misty. If you like an old school water deck that runs Gaga Gigo, Gaga Gigo, Googa Gago, Giga Gaga Go, all those Gaga Goes, all of them, this is the girl to go for. She uses a reptile water deck that is focused around strong monsters like the Gaga Gigo cards, has easy support summon like a Legendary Ocean and, like Ancient Rules, and most of her best cards come from her effect monster. She has Lion Alligator, she's got Jar Turtle, and yes, she runs triple Jar of Greed, and she has the classic spells and traps to help her deck be more consistent thanks to me. The next character to talk about is a 5Ds character named Brio. Brio is one of Team Unicorn's members, and he is the Deck Out member. So if you want to vote for one of the Team Unicorn characters, this is the Deck Out version. And his Deck Out deck focuses around Bicorn, and he has pulled off Deck Out multiple times. He's been to Worlds, and he has won duels without needing the Deck Out because he just has powerful unicorns to rely on. So overall, he has multiple win conditions. My buffs to him were adding more Deck Out cards, and honestly, he's a lot faster now. He scares me. The next character for us to talk about in our tournaments is the Dual Giant from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Surprisingly, this guy has received second place in one of my tournaments. He uses a really dumb Giant Orc Goblin Attack Force, Elite Goblin Attack Force, Goblin King deck. It's mostly Fiend monsters in his deck based around Goblin King. Goblin King actually works really well against a lot of the decks in this tournament because there are a lot of Fiend decks in this tournament, and when you summon Goblin King, they get stronger for every Fiend, even if it's not on your side of the field. He does have the dumb Giant Orc card, and yes, Goblin Attack Force stuff, but he is being buffed by having triple Axe of Fools, which will actually make his deck way more consistent. He has had one before, but now he's got three. And honestly, I've given him more draw power to make this a little bit more possible, so if he's going up against Fiend opponents, he's going to win the entire tournament. If he goes up against other opponents, he probably could still beat them because his deck is a beat-down deck with protection like Hollowed Life Barrier. The next character to talk about is the only character in the tournament with a win condition card based on my rules, not the game's. It's Balowski. Balowski's deck is the Moki Moki deck, a deck that normally does terrible, but at the end of the day, it's going to be super freaking strong because I've given him fusion support. And in my tournaments, Moki Moki King is an instant win. If you summon Moki Moki King, your opponent surrenders because they fell asleep. That's my ruling. So with that new fusion support, he's going to be a problem. The next character to talk about is Damon. Damon is the draw power Tarzan man from GX, and guess what? This game doesn't have his monsters, but I gave him mine. He's going to be a normal monster beatdown deck with Heart of the Underdog, and it is an Exodia deck. Obviously, this is based off his Tag Force 3 deck, but I have buffed it to hell. He has way more draw power now and way more access to his Heart of the Underdogs. He is going to be a problem. The next character to talk about is Don Zalug. Now, Don Zalug was a character I tried to buff and I will buff, but those Dark Scorpion cards just aren't good. I've done what I can for them. Most of his buffs will be in the form of extra destruction, deck destruction, and power-up cards because his cards are terrible. This is an interesting character. We have Slade Princeton. Slade Princeton uses a dragon deck, a high-power King Dragoon dragon deck with 5-God Dragon, thanks to me. His deck has not needed much buffs, but mostly what his buffs are is I've given him more piercing support. That way when he gets his big-ass dragons on the field, which he's very good at doing, it's very easy for him to summon those big dragons. He now has more piercing dragons / more trap cards to help him get piercing out. Slade Princeton always has been a menace in our tournaments, has gone top 4 multiple times, but he hasn't been in many tournaments, and now that he has even more dragon buffs, he's going to be a problem. The next character is Princess Rose. She is the only character in our tournaments to use a complete frog deck. This is a legit frog deck, and I've given it buffs to make it even more consistent with triple swap frog. So, she is going to be a problem. I do not know how to I don't know how the AI is going to work with these frogs, but with triple froggy force field and all that, she is going to be a menace in this tournament. She has never had access to all this support before, and now she does. It's going to be crazy. If you love frog decks, this is the girl to vote for. Princess Rose. The next character to talk about is Prince Ojin from GX. Prince Ojin is a character that focuses around Satellite Cannon and his fusion monster, Satellite Balsam. So, these cards are not very good as they take a long time to build up, which is why I've given his deck monster defense support, like negate attack and stuff like that. Stuff to keep his monsters alive so he can tribute, and then stuff to help him buff his monsters up, like equip spells and limiter removal. So it's going to be a lot easier for his Satellite Cannon to get going, and he will probably just kill you that way. The next character is Marcel Bonaparte from GX. This is a character I had a lot of trouble buffing, but at the end of the day I found a way to do it, and it now means he could summon his freaking, what is it called? The Sacred Beast cards way easier. He has access to all 3 Sacred Beast cards and their fusion monster Armatile, and now he has even better support to get them onto the field, and it's actually proven to be pretty good. The Sacred Beasts are good once you get them on the field, and now he can do that. The next character to talk about is another GX character. It's Dr. Collector. Dr. Collector is an interesting character as he is supposed to be a Hannibal Lecter character that uses a female magician deck. Now, these female magicians are based around Pikaru, Magician's Valkyria, Ebon Magician Girl, and of course his boss, Cosmo Queen. But his deck is also a deck out deck, but his deck is also a burn deck, and in order to make his deck better, I added more deck out / burn support, as well as remove from play support, which is how he pulls off his combo. The next character to talk about is Shoddy from Duel Monsters. That's right, Shoddy's in my tournaments. He uses a freaking Egyptian item deck, which is like Millennium Shield and Sengenjin. However, he has received way more support from me now and has access to newer monsters that are not from Duel Monsters. On top of that, he has new special summon support to make it easier for him to get out his boss monster, the Sengenjin. Okay, it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. It's time to talk about Mokuba Kaiba and what I did to him. Mokuba Kaiba uses wyvern monsters. There are only like 18 wyvern monsters in the game, and they're all Yangjings, or whatever they're called, I don't remember. All I need to tell you guys is that to buff his deck, I took out the useless wyvern cards, and now he's so inconsistent. I'm not going to like watching him. If you like wyvern cards, then Mokuba Kaiba's the guy to go for. That is all I have to say. I'm gonna hate him. The next character to talk about is the great Anubis from the movie. Anubis is going to be a hard character to rate because he uses a Sphinx deck, and in order to buff his deck, I made him more of a Sphinx deck than he was before. Yes, his focus is Xandro Sphinx, Sphinx Talia, Pyramid of Light, and Thanin the Sphinx, Great Sphinx, whatever the hell its name is. But in order to give him more support, I gave him better Sphinx cards and more draw power. The next character to talk about is Big Five's Nesbit. Nesbit of the Big Five is known for his Machine King deck. That's right, everybody, it's time to talk about machines again. Now, this deck is full-on Machine King support with a lot of machine support thanks to me. So his buffs are all around damage, 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 damage. If you love big damage machines and Perfect Machine King is one of your favorite monsters, then your guy to vote for is Nesbit, because guess what? With these buffs, he can go toe-to-toe with the best of them. The next character to vote for is Big Five Johnson. Johnson is a character without many buffs, has gone to top 8 in our tournaments. He uses a full-on Judge deck. I'm not joking. Judge Man, Miss Judge, and Empress Judge. Are they powerful? No. Did he get top 8 with them? Yes. Did I give him more support for them? Hell yes. He has more warrior support, and with this warrior support, honestly, he is going to be an absolute menace. The fact that he was top 8 without this support worries me. He actually can win this tournament. The next character to go for is Big Five Gainsley, a character that uses a legendary ocean in my tournaments with his Deep Sea Warrior card. Ooh. No, what makes his deck special is that I based it off the structure deck of Leviathan Dragon. I took out the stall and I added draw power. He's gonna be a problem. The next character to talk about was the big boss of the Shadow Realm tournament, Dark Knight. Dark Knight is an interesting specimen. He is a character that will either murder your favorite character with full-on power skill drain, or brick because he doesn't draw the right cards. I gave him more draw, more toss, more power. He is unstoppable, and his skill drain is going to ruin most characters in this tournament. The next character to talk about is Haitian. Haitian also has skill drain support. He's also normal monsters, but he also has Exodia. His deck is going to be so annoying. He's from Forbidden Memories, obviously from a lot of games, but Forbidden Memories is what I base him off of. And honestly, he's just going to be so goddamn annoying. It's basically an Exodia Heart of the Underdog deck with skill drain support to slow down and ruin some opponents. The next character to talk about is Lazar, otherwise known as, I forgot his name in the English version. Maybe this is the English name. Whatever, it's that clown guy. Yeah, he's not really clown, he's more of a jester guy from 5Ds. And this guy's jester deck has been buffed so that he can get his jesters out and ruin his opponent's summoning strategies. He also just pops all spells and traps now. So, Lazar, jesters, if you like the jester deck, this is the guy to vote for. The next character to talk about is another Forbidden Memories character. It's Neku. Neku is going to be a Forbidden Memories character that also gets skill drain support because he's from Forbidden Memories. He also gets draw power support because he's from freaking Forbidden Memories. And his main focus is Skull Knight. Is he going to be able to summon it easily? No. Did I make it easier? Yes. He's going to have an easier time now. It'll be easier for him to get his Skull Knight, and his opponent's effects do not activate. The next character to talk about is Sobek, the actual consistent character from Forbidden Memories in our tournaments. He won 2 tournaments in a row. This man focuses on Zoa and Metal Zoa. His Metal Morph mixed with Zoa has always been a problem in the tournaments, and because we run Skill Drain, because he's Forbidden Memories, it ruins many opponents. Priest Seto is the next character to talk about, probably the most powerful character in Forbidden Memories, and the most powerful Forbidden Memories character in our tournaments, because he uses a basic Duelist Kingdom freaking Kaiba deck. However, it's only focused around normal monsters and his Forbidden Memory monsters and Heart of the Underdog and Skill Drain. Yeah, that's right. If you're from Forbidden Memories, you have the same idea, except he's Blue Eyes, which means he's the strongest one. So he's going to be a problem. The next character to talk about is Simon Moran. This guy, if you like him, good. I'm happy for you. He is still bad, even after my buffs. His strongest card is Dark Magician. He uses the worst fusion monsters in the game, because that's what he used in Forbidden Memories. Nothing has changed other than draw power. He is still bad. He will only win duels if he gets Dark Magician out. Thank you. Goodbye. It is time for us to talk about Umbra. That's right, Umbra is his own character. He has all the same mass support as our other friend, the only difference being Umbra's deck is around Mass Beast Desgardius, not the ritual monster, the other one, which means he's all about special summoning support from me. His buffs came into special summoning support so that he can make Mass Beast Desgardius that much easier. The next character to talk about is the final villain of GX, Darkness. Darkness is going to be the character we talk about. His deck is based around Darkness Neosphere and Darkness Destroyer. He also has other Darkness cards to help him out. Overall, his deck is now based around trap cards. His monsters stayed the same. I gave him extra trap support, which makes it easier to protect those monsters. So once he gets Darkness Neosphere on the field, you're going to die, because he has traps to protect it. The next character to talk about is a very interesting one, Chief Armstrong. Chief Armstrong is annoying in the show, really fun to watch in my tournaments. He uses an Iron Chain deck, which normally would sound bad, but in our tournaments, I've created a chain deck. In other words, he is using Chainsaw Insect, he is using Kunai with Chain, he's using Blast with Chain. And not only does that make his monster stronger, but he's also a deck out deck on top of being a burn deck. Now, for a lot of characters, that might be too many balls in the air. For him, it's actually just consistent. It's super consistent. He decks out his opponent's best cards. He burns his opponents when he gets them low enough, and he beats them down with all this trap monster support. He is a real menace. Chief Armstrong is someone you can go for if you like Iron Chain cards. He's actually viable. The next character to talk about is Zexal. Zexal is a menace in these tournaments. He has more Utopic support now. His entire deck is Utopia, Evolve, Kill You. He has more level 4 support now. He is going to be a problem. He scares me. He's gonna kill them all. The next character to talk about is Reshef, the final villain of Reshef of Destruction. Yay! Or Reshef of Destruction. Reshef the Dark Being is in our tournaments. He runs cards like Obelisk the Tormentor. He runs a lot of draw support thanks to me now, and it's very easy for him to summon himself, though his AI does not always activate Reshef's effect. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. It's time to talk about Darts. Darts, everybody, is going to be a fun character to watch in these tournaments because Darts uses an Orichalco deck. Orichalco. I can't say it today. His deck is based around the Seal of Orichalcos and his boss monster, Shunaros. Shunaros is his strongest card in this game because they don't have the Divine Serpent or any of that, but it works really well because he runs a normal monster deck with Dark Sigmorph, Dark monsters and Wind monsters, on top of having Shunaros. And he runs Ojama Trio and Big Bang Shot to make it even more consistent. He has gotten top 4 in some of the biggest tournaments we've ever seen, and with these new buffs, he can easily take the championship. The next character we're going to talk about is a problem. It's Professor Banner. Professor Banner is Empty Jar. Enough said. And we're moving on to the next character very quickly. His name is Wicked Keith. Wicked Keith is a character from the manga that I changed his deck because his cards from the manga did not exist. He uses the Wicked Eraser, but more importantly, he is a scrap deck. Wicked Keith uses a scrap deck, and he is very good at using it. He uses Scrap Dragon, Scrap Twin Dragon, Scrap Archerine, Scrap Atomic Dragon, and he is very good. He is so good. The next character we're going to be talking about is the Wicked Yako. Wicked Yako is also from the manga, and he uses the Wicked Avatar. He also uses Beast Machine King, whatever its name is, has like 3,800 attack, and it scares me. And he's got Beast King Barbaros and stuff like that. All I need to tell you is he is a high attack deck. He has final attack orders. He has new support to make it easier to summon Wicked Avatar. He is going to wreck in this tournament. The Wicked Gecko is up next. The Wicked Gecko is a character based around counter trap fairies. His counter trap fairies are all an illusion just to let him summon his Wicked Dreadroot boss monster. His counter trap cards work around his Seraphim tokens, which help him summon his Wicked Dreadroot boss. He is going to be a problem because I gave him more counter traps that work really well against every deck but Jinzo. The next deck to talk about and the next character to talk about is Garimo. Garimo in our tournament specifically is a Greffer deck. Yes, I'm talking Night Day Greffer, Dark Greffer, Warrior of Greffer, all of those cards. However, I've given him more warrior support to make him more consistent and more special summon support so he could summon his boss monster, Obelisk the Tormentor. It's time for Chump Daddy! Chump Daddy is here. This is one of the funniest decks we've ever made in our tournaments. It is a legit flip the table deck. Yes, that card exists here. He has Hot Sauce Bottle. He has all the cards you know and love. He has the Drunken Tiger. He's got the Drunken Angel. He's got the power to win, and his boss monster, Green Baboon, can do a lot. So, what support did I give him? Burn support. Have fun. If you want to go Chump Daddy and his freaking Sake deck or Drunken deck, it's viable now. The next character we're going to be talking about is Ransborg. That's right, everybody. It's time for Mass Knights himself. The Mass Knight deck doesn't exist in the real world, I don't think, but it exists in this game, and he has gotten more support to summon the Mass Knight cards. What do? Mass Knight cards at level 3 and level 5 can do burn damage or attack. But if he gets to his boss monster, Mass Knight level 7, which is super easy for him, by the way, Mass Knight level 7, every single turn can do 1500 burn and can still attack as a 2900 beater monster. 1500 burn every turn if you don't even want to... You could attack still, even if you do the burn. He is a menace. He has won a tournament, and with his new support, making it easier for him to get Mass Knight level 7 onto the field with its busted effect, he could end the whole tournament. The next character to talk about is Alistair. Alistair is going to be in our tournament, and he is using a Buster Blader deck. His Buster Blader deck has focus around dragon cards and giving your opponent dragon cards, as well as Dark Paladin. He also has Astus Scabscar Knight, which the AI does not work well against, and he can use to abuse his opponents. The next character to talk about is another Orichalcos character, just like Alistair. It's Valen. Valen in our tournaments, obviously his cards don't exist, we gave him Machina. That's right, triple Machina Fortress and Megaform. It's over. This guy's going to be a problem. The next character we're going to be talking about in our tournaments is Yuma. Yuma is receiving more Go support to make him way more consistent, because he's been pissing us off in these tournaments. He is the main character of Zexal. He needs to start acting like it, because he's really bad. Maybe that is the main character. He's just so bad in our tournaments. I've upgraded him. He's no longer not viable. He is viable now. He is not a utopic deck. He still has Utopia, but he's not a utopic deck. He is a deck based around Gagaga and Go stuff. And you know what? We can make that work. The next character in our tournaments to talk about is Misaki. Misaki is a character from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's 2011 World Championship. She is a character that uses a Watt deck. That's right, the Thunder Monster Watts. And I've given her direct attack support, including buffing her Watt monsters. So, she wins duels now by racing her opponents to the bottom. Will her monsters kill you before you kill her? Because she's going to be attacking you directly, and you're going to be attacking her monsters. And her monsters are going to be buffed now, which means that you are going to die. The next character to talk about is Andre of Team Unicorn. Now, Andre has gone through the most major change in Team Unicorn. Rather than the basic Unicorn cards, I've given him his own original deck, including his Unicorn Synchros, but his original deck is Phantom Beasts. Not Mecha Phantom Beasts. I'm talking Chimera Phantom Beasts. He's got Wildhorn. He's got that weird rock-looking one. He's got Phantom Beasts. If you don't know what they are, they're good. He won a tournament with these Phantom Beast cards in this game. And those Phantom Beasts have access to his unicorns thanks to tutor support, which I gave him. So it's easier for him to summon his unicorns while throwing away the Phantom Beasts like Crosswing, making his deck more consistent. The next character to talk about is Jean of Team Unicorn. This is the only member of Team Unicorn to full-on go Team Unicorn. He has all the cards they used in the anime up to 11, and I've given him draw power support. He is now the strongest unicorn member there is when it comes to using unicorns. If you want the character that uses the unicorn cards for what they are, it's him. He's not a gimmick deck out deck like Brio. He's not a Phantom Beast deck like Andre. He is the purest form of the unicorn deck. So if you need some purity, this is the guy to go to. Next up in our character list, it's going to be Taro of Team Tayo, the leader of Team Tayo. Taro uses a Warrior of Zera deck, which means he has Archlord Zera and Zera Deville and Zera the Mont. He's got a lot of weird ones. And for some reason, he actually does perform well and has won a tournament. He's going to be weird. Up next is Rally of 5Ds. Rally is a child that in our tournaments uses Horus because we don't allow stall anymore, and it is a Horus burn deck. It actually performs pretty well. After that, we have Hunter Pace. Hunter Pace is an interesting character as he uses a super fast zombie world deck using cards like Zombie Master, Doom Kaiser Dragon, and obviously his Skullflame card. After that, we have Bolt Tanner. Bolt Tanner is an interesting character who uses an Ushi Oni deck. In order to buff his Ushi Onis, I've given him more Fiend support, making it easier for him to pull off his boss Giant Ushi Oni, which has the ability to battle twice in one turn. The next person is Sayer. Sayer is a character that is a jerk in the show, but in our tournaments he is pretty good using his Psychic deck. He's one of the very few Psychic decks in the tournament, and his deck is really good at summoning high-level Synchro monsters. The next character to talk about is Rex Godwin. Rex Godwin uses the Moon and Sun Dragons. Yep, Sun Dragon NT, Moon Dragon Quilla. I probably reversed those. And he has his own Earthbound Immortal. Overall, his deck does perform pretty decently well because the Sun and Moon do work well off each other. The next character to talk about is Roman Godwin. Roman Godwin is the brother of Rex Godwin, and this character is completely based around insects. Now, because we don't allow stall, his field spell has been taken from him, and instead he has been giving ultimate insect level 3, 5, 7 support. So his deck does still have good options in it. The next deck to talk about is D-Vac. That's right, we're going through all of these guys. D-Vac is the next one that uses Dark Signers. He's a Dark Signer that uses Earthbound Immortals. He's got an Ape deck and Monkey cards as well, and these cards are super powerful because they can stop stuff just like Ancient Gears with his Zaman the Ape King, and he just has a lot of good beater monsters, and his Close Forest field spell works really well in his deck. The next character to talk about is Greiger. That's right, everybody. Greiger is up next, and Greiger has a very powerful Fire Machine or Pyro Machine deck that uses cards like, let's see, Summon Reactor, Trap Reactor, Spell Reactor, and of course Sky Fortress. So his deck is a little weird, but overall it actually performs very well in tournament because it has high power cards and lots of burn effects. The next character to talk about is Dark Signer Misty. This girl uses a Gorgon deck. It's a reptile deck that also has an Earthbound Immortal. She wins any duel where she does get her Earthbound Immortal out, as the reptile Earthbound Immortal is pretty damn good. Other than that, she's pretty bad. The next character is Dark Signer Carly. Dark Signer Carly is a weird one because she uses Fortune Ladies. That's right. It's all about the field spell Future Visions, and honestly it does counter a lot of decks in this game because Future Vision slows down most characters and in some cases negates their effects. Overall, Dark Signer Carly does not perform that well. She can get top 4 in some tournaments, but her deck needs a little more support, and I have decided to give it to her. The next character to talk about is Officer Trudge. That's right, everybody. This is Trudge. Now, Trudge's deck is all based around the Goyo Guardian, so he has a lot more warrior support now. And overall, his deck is about beatdown and steal your opponent's cards. Up next is Sherry LeBlanc. Sherry LeBlanc is a character that comes with lots of strategies. She uses a Defleur deck. I don't really know how to pronounce it. And her Chevalier Defleur is pretty good. She's got a Centaur Mina, and her boss monster, Sorcier Defleur, works really well with her field spell Ecola de Zone. I have no idea what it does. All I know is it beats a lot of opponents because it turns them into tokens. The next character we're going to talk about is good old Harold? Oh god, Harold. Okay. Harold uses an Odin deck. The Ragnarok deck is not very good in this game, sadly. Overall, I will make his deck better. I will try. Odin is the strongest of all the freaking Nordic gods or whatever. The next character to talk about is Brave. Brave is the user of Loki. He also has a lot of support similar to Harold. Finally, we have Dragon, also a member of Team Ragnarok. He uses Thor. Overall, Dragon has the power of the deck. So, when it comes to Brave, he's more tactical. Dragon's more about attack points. Antinomy is going to be up next. Antinomy is the only Tech Genis user in our tournaments. His TG cards are super fast and super powerful. He has performed extremely well in 200 character tournaments, getting himself up to top 4. So in a 300 character tournament, who the hell knows what he can pull off with a few buffs. His best monster, the Halberd Cannon, and he has one more, like Buster Blaster. They are super freaking cool. And overall, I can't wait to see how he does, because the Tech G deck, especially with his triple Hyper Librarian, moves super quickly. The next person to talk about is Bruno. Bruno uses a Gen X deck. A Gen X deck is not very good, we can all agree. And that guy is a champion. Bruno is a champion with his Gen X deck, and will receive minor buffs to make it so he can synchro a little easier. Up next is Luna. Luna is an interesting character because she is not the deck she used in the anime. We gave her Vylons in this game. It's an equipped spell deck used with synchro monsters. Overall, she does not perform perfectly well in our tournaments, so I've decided to give her better equipped spell support. We have a main character coming up, everyone. It's time for Jaden Neos. This is Jaden's Neos deck. If you would like to vote for him, you need to specify Jaden's Neos deck. In order to make this deck more viable, I've given him more fusion support, making it easier for him to get his Neos fusions. He is going to be much stronger now, and honestly, I can't wait to see how it works at this 300 character tournament. Up next, we have Kite. Kite is going to be an interesting character simply because he uses Photon Galaxy cards. His high-level deck only has one weakness. It can brick sometimes. Other than that, his Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon and all of his Exceed monsters put people to shame. Up next is Shark! Okay, Shark is a character that has done so well in Worlds that he has completely surprised me. His Shark deck, and I'm not joking, it's just Shark cards, has been super brutal, and he has rank up magic, which makes him really busted. So, we'll see how Shark does in the tournaments. I think he's someone to look out for. The next character is Yuto. Yuto is an interesting character because he is the only one with access to Dark Rebellion Dragon. Dark Rebellion Dragon is pretty good since it steals half your opponent's attack points permanently, and you just permanently get the attack buff, but his best cards come from his level 4 support and his Phantom Knight trap card. The next character to talk about is Jack Atlas, my favorite 5Ds character. Not much needs to be said about him. His resonators can stall out until he gets good monsters on the field. He gets Red Dragon Archfiend extremely easily. He is a super powerhouse. Most of his monsters are just beaters, not counting his resonator cards. And overall, he is going to be hard to overpower with all these new buffs. The next character is Yusei Fudo, one of the best synchro summoners our tournaments have ever seen. I've seen Yusei Fudo synchro summon 5 times in one turn during our tournaments. The only buff I'm going to be giving his deck is more consistent cards to stop his AI brain from being a complete idiot, because for some reason he has so many options that he always picks the worst. So I'm going to take away the worst options. The next character to talk about is somebody that everybody has fallen in love with. It's Akiza. Her plant deck has been soaring to new heights with her new 2 championships, and honestly, she is to be feared. Her plant cards are brutal like Titanial, freaking Talia, there's a couple other good ones, and of course her Black Rose Dragon is unmatched at field wiping. The next character we're going to be talking about is Sora. Sora is a little bit of a weird one because he uses a Furnimal or Fluffle deck. I don't know what it's actually called. He only has 3 fusion monsters, but in order to make him more consistent, I have given him more fusion support because his biggest problem is he keeps bricking fusion-wise in our tournaments. And he does not know how to use a lot of the Furnimal cards. They did not actually program that, so I'm doing my best to give him more fusion support. The next character in the tournament is Fonda Fontaine. This is the only legit anti-cure deck, a deck completely built around anti-cure, using Bad Reaction to Samochi and Dark Lord Nurse, or of course, Dark Nurse of Retifucal, I don't know how to pronounce it. She uses cards like Gift Card, which does 3,000 burn thanks to her reversed healing cards, and honestly, she's won a whole tournament with it. Granted, her AI in this game is pretty poor with these cards, but she can pull off wins, so maybe if I give her even more burn cards, she can do it. The next character to talk about is a character that has gotten top 2 and top 4 super often lately. It's Jasmine. Jasmine uses a Winged Beast deck. She used to be an Obelisk Blue student. She still is, but I've given her Winged Beast cards. She does have Harpy Lady 1 support, and honestly, she has a lot of destruction support. Cards to destroy your opponent's monsters, spells, and traps. It is time to talk about Burn Queen Mindy. This girl uses a cutesy beast deck that uses a lot of burn cards. Just legit burn, and she is the only character in the game with access to one Messenger of Peace. A card I have banned outright, except she gets to keep one. And up next is Night Shroud. Night Shroud uses a Red Eyes deck and is the only Red Eyes user. I mean, yes, other characters have Red Eyes because, you know, dragons, but is the only legit Red Eyes user, up from Red Eyes Black Chick to Red Eyes Black Dragon to Red Eyes Wyvern to Red Eyes Darkness Dragon to Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. Valiant Crowler is a character that has been hit and miss. He has gone as far as top 4 with his new deck. He is a gadget deck mixed in with ancient gears. His ultimate offering support is being buffed so that he can summon more monsters in an infinite loop and more access to limiter removal. The next character we're going to talk about is Axel Brody, one of the best burn decks in our tournaments. In fact, he's won a tournament with this burn deck. It's Volcanics. His Volcanic burn has been super brutal and many opponents have fallen to it. The only characters he seems to lose to are the characters that can win within 4 to 5 turns. The My Valentines, the Seto Kaibas, there's a lot of fast characters out there. Manga Jadens, they can take him out. But most characters struggle against his burn. His new support is just added stall burn. Not real stall, but like 1 turn stall. The next character we're going to talk about is the worst character in our tournaments, Adrian Gecko. How am I going to buff Cloudians? They have actually been ranked the worst. They got last place in a loser's tournament. I have decided I'm not going to give him stall, but I am going to give him extreme Cloudian token support. I don't know what they call the tokens. Spell counters, whatever they call it. Fluffle counters, cloud counters, I don't know. He's getting extreme cloud support, and we're going to see if that helps. The next character to talk about is my least favorite character in any show ever. It's Bonaparte. That's it. The next character to talk about is Serena. Serena is a very interesting character as she is a Monarch mixed with the Dark Creator deck. Not the Dark Creator you know, but a card called Load of Darkness that in the show was called Dark Creator. Her deck is completely based around tribute monsters, and she has a lot of mirror and wall trap cards and monsters. The next character is Sartorius, the final villain of Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 2 GX. Sartorius uses the only Arcana Force deck in the tournament, and his Arcana Force deck is completely luck-based, so I can't really sing its praises. Even though I'm going to give it buffs, it is still a luck-based deck. The next character we are going to talk about is Jesse Anderson. Jesse Anderson uses a legit Crystal Beast deck with just Rainbow Dragon. His best way of winning duels is Crystal Abundance, but he has pulled off victories with Rainbow Dragon as well. I have decided to give him more draw card support. He needs more draw power. The next character we're going to talk about is Destiny Hero Master Aster Phoenix. In order to make his deck better, I have decided to break down and make him more of a Plasma player. So he's going to be playing around Plasma and Dogma more. So his Destiny Heroes are good, but Plasma is his new focus. The next character we're going to talk about is Class Rep. The Class Rep from Zexal is a character that uses a Crash Bug Virus deck. I took out all of his stall. The only thing that makes his deck decent is Antidote Nurse. It's still not good. I tried. The next character we're going to talk about is Bastion Misawa. Bastion Misawa is the man of many answers. He's got Carbonet-on, Hydroget-on, Oxyget-on. He creates the legendary Water Dragon Never. I hope to see it one day. Actually, he has summoned it, but let's hope to see it again. Let's see if he can see his Hyonzaro Diamond Dragon. It's actually pretty freaking good. And overall, his best monsters are easily his Dune Swordsman Litmus Test. I don't remember. It's like a ritual monster that is invincible to traps and battle, and has 3,000 attack if there's a face-up trap on the field. However, his best card is probably Plasma Warrior Atom, which can attack directly and has 3,000 attack. But it loses half its attack when it attacks directly. The next character to talk about is the Mad. Lad Chaz. Now, Mad Lad Chaz is someone to talk about because he uses his manga deck with Light and Darkness Dragon. Now, if you would like to vote for this Chaz specifically, you must call him Manga Chaz or Mad Lad Chaz. The Mad Lad is completely based around summoning Light and Darkness Dragon. He also has access to Dark End Dragon and Light End Dragon. It's time for the Chump. It's Chumley Huffington, everybody. Chumley is a wild card in these tournaments as he does have lots of access to every type of win condition. He does piercing damage, he does burn damage, he does stall tactics. He has the biggest beater monsters in the game like Master of Oz at 4200 attack stat, and he can buff it by like 3700 thanks to his freaking spell card unleashing something. I don't care. It buffs his monster to like 92 something attack. It's crazy. Overall, he is a menace in these tournaments, and he is actually one of the most intelligent AIs we've ever seen. Chumley is fun to watch, and the only buffs I've given him is more special summoning support to make it easier for him to get Big Koala or Master of Oz out. The next character we're talking about is the final villain of Season 1 GX. It's Kagemaru. Kagemaru uses all 3 of the Sacred Beast cards, and I gave him Armor Tile just to be nice. Obviously, he does not perform that well in tournaments, but he is the master of the Snipe Hunter and has won many duels thanks to Snipe Hunter comboed with lots of good Fiend monsters. The next character to talk about is the Season 3 World Champion Alexis Rhodes Cyberblader. This is Season 1 Alexis. If you would like to vote for her, you need to write Alexis Rhodes Cyberblader in the chat. Or Alexis Cyberblader, whatever. It needs to say Cyberblader. There's Cyber Angel Alexis and there's Cyberblader Alexis. This is the Cyberblader deck. It is a warrior deck that uses Double Passe to burn down opponents and attack directly. The next character is the strongest character in terms of attack points in our series. It is Zane Truesdale. Zane Truesdale uses an old school Season 1 Cyber Dragon deck that has access to Chimera Tech, which is a Season 2 card, fair enough, but he has Chimera Tech in it. His best cards are obviously his Future Fusion, his Power Bond, his Overload Fusion, and his boss monsters Cyber Twin, Cyber End, and Chimera Tech Over Dragon. Up next is a fun page 3 character. It's my buddy Ken Yu. Ken Yu is the only character I ever teamed up with in an Attack Force game. His deck is 100% based around Mushroom Man support and having your opponent take your monsters and burning for that fact. It is the stupidest deck idea I've ever seen, and yet in order to make him better, I gave him draw power and special summon support. How is Ken Yu going to win this? I do not know, but honestly, I've seen him get top 8, so anything can happen. The next character we're going to talk about is Jaden Elemental Hero. This is Season 1 Jaden. If you would like to vote for this character, you need to say Elemental Hero Jaden. And when I say Season 1, I mean Season 1. We're talking Electrum, we're talking Shining Flare Wingman, we're talking Flame Wingman, we're talking Thunder Giant, we're talking Rampart Blaster and Mudball Man, we're talking Blade Edge and Wild Edge. These are the oldest elemental heroes he has, and he is receiving new spell and trap card support to make it even better and more consistent. The next character we're going to talk about is Jaden Manga. This is Masked Hero Jaden. Now, if you love the Masked Hero Jaden, you need to specify Masked Hero Jaden or Manga Jaden. I don't need to say more. Manga Jaden is a menace in our tournaments. The next character to vote for is Alexis Rhodes Society of Lights. This is Alexis Rhodes using her water deck, otherwise known as her Blizzard deck. Her Blizzard deck has access to Exceed monsters like Snow Dust Giant, and overall her cards are super annoying. I've taken out a lot of tribute monsters to make her better, and I've given her easier access to White Knight Dragon, one of her best cards. Overall, this is going to be a very powerful deck that she uses, and with the new support, she'll have no problem bricking. She will not be bricking anymore. The next character we are going to talk about used to be called the strongest character in our series before Alexis Rhodes took that title. It is Crow. His Blackwing deck is Unchained. He's got triple Black Whirlwind, he's got Sirocco, he's got Shura, he's got Gales for days. He's got everything a Blackwing deck should need to win. Honestly, Crow is unchained in this tournament. I have no clue what that's going to do. An unstoppable Blackwing deck at its full power, as if this was Tag Force 4. The next character we're going to talk about is Callan Kessler. Callan Kessler uses an Infernity deck. You could just call him Callan or Infernity Callan for me to specify who this is. Callan is going to be interesting because his Infernity deck got him to Worlds. In order to make him more consistent, I made sure that he could draw cards to throw away more cards. It's still an Infernity deck, and it's still up to luck whether or not the AI will use it well. If you like Callan Kessler, maybe the new buffs will be what he needs. The next character to talk about is a Zexal character. It's Kotori. Kotori is the only character in our tournaments that uses the Agents deck. Master Hyperion, Agents, Archlord Christia, and even a little honest support thanks to me. So overall, Kotori is kind of a menace, and her Agent cards are pretty annoying. So let's see if she can do it with the Agent deck. If you like Agents, she's viable. She's won multiple tournaments. The next character we're going to talk about is another Zexal female character. It's Rio and her Penguin deck. Rio uses a Penguin deck not unlike Crump, but the difference between her and Crump is she has X-Seed support with Ragna Zero and a bunch of other way more powerful cards. Her deck is brutal, and she even has annoying cards like Icebond and Burden of the Mighty to completely nerf her opponents. The next character we are going to talk about is Yuya. Yuya is the worst protagonist in our tournaments because there are barely any Pendulum cards and he does not know how to use his deck. I did not know how to help him. If you really like Pendulum Dragon, you could still vote for him. But I can't help his AI brain, I'm sorry. I gave him draw, that's it. The next character we're going to talk about is an actual competitor from freaking Arc 5. It's Yuzu. Yuzu is an interesting competitor as she is able to use the Melodious cards. The Melodious cards, or Melodious, I don't know how to pronounce it. The Melodious cards are very good at special summoning, and she has access to creature swap, making it so she can steal her opponent's cards. She also has monsters that go invincible thanks to their special summoned effects, and honestly, she has gone top 4 and been to Worlds multiple times. The next character we're going to talk about is a character that completely destroys a lot of AI brains in our tournaments. It's Gongstrong, and Gongstrong's deck is completely based around super heavy samurais. This man doesn't run a single spell or trap card in his decks, and it does not matter. This man has still gone to Worlds almost every season because Gongstrong can counter Mirror Force, which a lot of characters rely on. Gongstrong counters a lot of cards that require you to be in attack mode. His defense mode attacking super heavy samurais beat enemy AI back and forth, and he is a menace in our tournaments. This character is secretly, or not so secretly, the strongest character in the tournaments. He does not have the highest records. He is the Season 1 World Champion, but he does not have the highest records. This is Shingo. Shingo uses a Yosenju deck, a deck that completely messes up our AI in these tournaments. Overall, Shingo does really, really well and has won multiple tournaments, including Worlds. However, every so often, his deck does brick. However, this is a double elimination tournament, which means even if it does happen to brick once, as long as it doesn't do it twice, he's going all the way. The next character in our tournaments to talk about is Para of the Paradox Brothers. Para is going to be focused around the Labyrinth Wall set of the Paradox deck, and is completely based around getting Gate Guardian pieces, even though he still has Gate Guardian. Obviously, the next character to talk about is Dox, who is focused around the fusion support of the Paradox set, using Labyrinth Tank and Gigatech Wolf and Cannon Soldier. He has Cannon Soldier burn, and overall, he still tries to get out the Gate Guardian pieces like his brother. The next character you can vote for is Tyranno Hassleberry. This is the biggest beater dino deck in the game. This man has Superconductor Tyranno. He's got Ultimate Tyranno. He's got Trap support. He's got Effect support. He's got Solidarity. He's got Jurassic World. I have made him one of the biggest beater decks in the world, and now in order to give him better support, I've given him safer traps to protect his monsters. The next character to talk about is Atticus Rhodes. Atticus Rhodes is a weirdo that uses a winged beast deck called the Atmosphere and Trophosphere. He also has beast monsters in his deck and beast warrior monsters. I do not know how to rate this guy, but he kind of acts like a relinquished, while also having cards like Manticore of Darkness, which keeps coming back. The next character to talk about is the guy who copycats decks. It's Dimitri. Dimitri appears in our tournaments copycatting Yugi's deck from the Seal of Orichalcos arc. He uses the Eye of Timaeus. He uses Timaeus Dragon, whatever it's called. He uses freaking the legendary Knight Timaeus and Amulet Dragon and the Dark Magician Dragon Fusion as well. Overall, he's gotten up to top 4 in tournaments, and in order to make him more consistent, I've given him more Knight support to make it easier for him to get Arcana Knight Joker. The next character we are going to be talking about is Sadie. Sadie has won a tournament with a Stall Burn deck in Tag Force 2. She does not have that deck. Instead, she has been given Sylvans? I don't know. I don't know how to help her. Sorry. The next character we're going to be talking about is Dorothy. Dorothy is the only Glad Beast user in our tournament. Dorothy's Glad Beast deck is super good, and I have added more Glad Beast support, including more Bestiaries and Gyazarus. I don't know how to pronounce it. All I know is that she's busted now. She's busted. Triple Wabaku, bitches. The next character we're going to be talking about is Titan. Titan uses an updated Archfiend deck. He even has access to Emperor, Queen, Empress, all those Archfiend cards. Overall, his deck is mostly about stopping effects, negating effects, and destroying his opponent with powerful Archfiend monsters. The next character is Yubel. Yubel AI bad. Do not know how to use Yubel. She will try. To give support, she has Montage Dragon. She's still bad. Sorry. The next character we are going to be talking about is Fujiwara. Fujiwara is a character that uses clear monsters? They're weird. They're like attributeless monsters. They don't have attributes. And his clear zone or clear wall or whatever this freaking field spell is nerfed in this game, so he's not as good. The only support I've given him is Dark Horus. Sorry. The next character we're going to talk about is a 2-time consecutive champion, Leo. Leo is the only user of Morphotronic decks, and he has access to the Power Tool Dragon. Leo is a menace in our tournaments and has won many. His only weakness is that he actually does run a little too many Morphotronics, so I've decided to help him out there. He is better Morphotronic access, and he doesn't have so many of the crap ones now. The next character we're going to talk about is Primo. Primo uses the Mech Lord that has 2500 attack, is a level 1 dark monster, and negates spell cards. After that is Lester. It's a 2200 attack, level 1 Mech Lord monster. That's it. And we have Jacob. This is a Mech Lord guy that's actually really good at the game. He uses a Mech Lord that uses half of your opponent's, or your own life points, I mean. And it usually has a ton because, Jacob has a healing strategy. In other words, his deck is all about healing to create the strongest beater monster in the game. After that, we have Aporia, who uses all of the Mech Lord cards, including a monster that needs all of the cores in the grave. It's weird. I can't help him. The next character to talk about is Zone. This guy is a guy who can counter so many decks in this game because he uses Time Lords. The only saving grace, he would probably be the strongest character in this game if it wasn't for the fact that the AI is poorly programmed in this game. He is still a menace and can take down the strongest of the strong. But will he win this whole tournament? It's anybody's guess. If you like Time Lords, this might be his chance. The next character we're going to talk about is Astral. Yeah, Yuma's little spirit bro. This spirit bro is going to be levitating above Yuma and is going to be weird because he uses Utopia cards, just like Zexal. The next character we're going to talk about is Tetsuo the Thumb. That's right, I nicknamed him the Thumb. Tetsuo uses a Tin Archduke deck. It uses cards like, I don't know, they're weirdo cards. Overall, he's a machine deck. Good luck with him. Honestly, good luck with him. It's like Gear Giano cards. His boss monster, Tin Archduke, is actually pretty decent, though. The next character we're going to talk about shouldn't even be in this tournament. His name is Flip Turner. He's a piece of shit. I don't like him. Look, Ghost Strix are cute. I'll give you that. In our tournaments, all he uses them is to stall. The duels take forever. I don't like him. If you vote for him, you're a bad person. You only get one vote. Don't waste it. The next character we're going to be talking about is Cat-chan. Cat-chan uses a cat deck. I'm not joking, it's a cat deck. With her field spell, her cat monsters have the same power as Obelisk the Tormentor and Red Eyes Black Dragon. I am not joking. And she can attack directly. I am not joking. Cat-chan is a legitimate menace thanks to my buffs. The next character we're going to be talking about is Rei Shingetsu. He sucks. The next character we're going to be talking about is Haruto. This is the little brother of Kite. He is one of the only psychic deck users, and his psychic deck revolves around Exceed monsters rather than Synchro monsters. Overall, he does pretty well in the tournaments and has access to more than one Mirror Force. The next character we're going to be talking about is Orbital 7, a character that uses the Orbital 7 card, the Lilybot card, and a bunch of other crazy cards to help him summon Googly Eyes Drum Dragon. Yes, he summons it consistently, and yes, he's a menace. The next character we're going to be talking about is Gotche, otherwise known as Nistro in the English version. Gotche is going to be a pretty interesting character as his freaking cards are busted. He has access to one of the most crazy cards I've ever seen. It's this weird swordsman. It's called number 86. If you know the name number 86, that's his deck. Be afraid. The next character we're going to be talking about is Dextra. Now that we're diving into Zexal decks, I don't know much about them. This girl's the Butter Spy deck. She puts you in defense mode and then kills you. Her whole deck is put you in defense mode, then kill you. It's actually pretty effective. If you like Butter Spies, this is the deck to vote for. The next character is Dr. Faker. No one in our chat likes Dr. Faker. Dr. Faker plays really poorly because his boss monsters have like 0 attack points, which means that the AI wastes them and tributes them like an idiot. I can't stop that from happening. He sucks. The next character to vote for actually is good. This is a Zexal character that has done really good in many tournaments and has been to Worlds multiple times. Trey uses Chronomalies. Chronomalies are fast, they hit hard, and they pop stuff. They are problems. The next character we're talking about is Quattro, and Quattro uses Gimmick Puppets. They're a problem in their own way, but he doesn't use the deck very well. In order to give him more support, he has better level 8 support to make it easier for him to Exceed summon. Yes, he has access to some of the best Gimmick Puppet Exceed monsters. Yes, they have instant win effects. Oh god. The next member is Quentin. Quentin uses a level 9 deck. It sucks. Or sorry, a level 11 deck. One or the other. It sucks. I tried to help. It still sucks. I'm sorry. The next character we're going to be talking about is Tron. Tron is a character that has a pretty basic deck altogether. It's super fast, has good special summon support, and has Exceed monsters that are decent beaters, but overall, his best attribute is he counters every Zexal deck or Exceed user in the game. If you use an Exceed deck against his Heraldry deck, he wins. Almost every time. If you do not use an Exceed deck, then his monsters are pretty much just 24-25 beater monsters. If you could beat that, you win. The next character to talk about is number 96. He uses Dark Mist. He uses this weird, corrupted form. Overall, he's mostly a popping deck with level 2 monsters. The next character is one of the most consistent characters in our tournaments. It's Gilog. Gilog uses a hands deck. I'm talking Fire Hand. I'm talking Ice Hand. I'm talking Magic Hand. I'm talking shitty hand. I don't know. He's got them all. He's got the Exceed Monster's Giant Hand and Chaos Hand. And honestly, the Red Giant Hand is super good. He negates everything. He's all about draw power and negating summoning, negating effects, and kicking your ass. He is busted. He has won more tournaments than you'll ever know. And honestly, he scares me. He's super strong. The next character we're going to be talking about is the winner of the 180 character tournament. It's Alito. Alito is the Battling Boxer deck of our tournament, one of the most consistent decks, just like his friend Gilog. He is a beater deck that literally special summons for days and eats monsters. Honestly, his own monsters. Honestly, he's a menace. Anyone that beats Alito is known to be pretty powerful. He does not lose to weak people. Overall, if you vote for Battling Boxers, it's probably a safe bet. The next character we're going to talk about is Misael. Misael is a weird one as he uses high-level dragon monsters. Level 8 dragons to summon his Tachyon dragon. It's not the most consistent deck, and yet it still can pull off some of the strongest combos in the game. With my support, even stronger. The next person we're going to talk about is Derbe. Derbe in the anime, I don't know his English name. All I know is that he uses stupid stellar stuff. Or no, he uses something else. Whatever, Star Seraphs. He uses Star Seraphs, and they're annoying and they're problematic, and he has 3 mirror forces. It's not allowed, but he has it for some reason. The next character we're going to talk about is Vector, an Umbral horror user that has access to some of the best Exceed monsters in the game. After that, we're going to talk about the Burying Spirit, which is basically Vector's deck, but with better level 2 support cards, making it easier for him to summon his boss monster, the Burying Spirit. I'm not joking, he summons himself. The next character we're going to be talking about is Esper Robin. This guy uses Esper Star Sparrow or something like that, and his boss monster is like a freaking monster. It has 5,000 attack and is a level 10 triple Exceed monster. It is pretty crazy. Overall, he's never summoned the level 10, but he does summon his level 8 monster, which is just a 3k beater with a really good effect. Overall, watch him. He's good. He's pretty good. The next character we're going to talk about is Yamikawa. Yamikawa uses an elemental ninja deck, whereas Jean-Claude Magnum uses a weird ninja deck that works in a lot of ways. This guy uses elemental ninjas that are all about Exceed summoning. The next character we're going to talk about was a menace in Season 5 Worlds. She is Anna Kaboom. She uses the only train deck in the tournament. Her train deck is unstoppable in some way. She has so much burn, so much protection, and so much damage. She somehow lost to Weevil Underwood in a duel, but other than that, she is immaculate. The next character we're going to talk about is a fun one. It's Kakeru. Who the hell is Kakeru? Kakeru uses the Exceed monster called Playmaker. It's a soccer card. He's a soccer deck. If you like the sport soccer, this is the character you vote for. See, I told you, even if you don't know Yu-Gi-Oh, there's a character you can vote for in this tournament. Soccer Boy. The next character we're going to talk about is Shobi. Shobi uses a heavy machinery deck, and honestly, his industrial machinery cards are pretty effective. He can get as far as top 4 in tournaments, but overall, with new machine support, he is going to be a menace. It's time to talk about the Tomato King, Yasai. Yasai is going to be in this tournament using his tomato deck. His tomato deck has done so well in our tournaments that it kind of blows people's minds. Sometimes these gimmick decks are actually really good. The next character we're going to be talking about is Charlie McCoy. Charlie McCoy is a luck-based deck. The next character we're going to be talking about is Shuda. Shuda uses a camera deck with a card called Force Focus as the boss monster. Basically, all of his cards are camera-based, and he's very good at popping cards while also having decent attack stat, and he has access to Chaos Sorcerer. The next character we're going to be talking about is the Dog Chan, otherwise known as God Chan. This is Pip in the English version of the show, and she uses a dog deck. I am not joking, it is a dog deck. She is very good at special summoning. She is very good at countering trap cards. She is very good at getting her monsters buffed and attack points. She is very good at surviving battles because her cards have some invincibility to them. She is a beast, literally. The next character we're going to be talking about is Aika. Aika uses a Blossoms deck, which is mostly about burning your opponent down with weird plant monsters that exceed summon into a giant spaceship plant. The next character we're going to be talking about is Umimi. Umimi uses the only Mecha Phantom Beast deck there is in this tournament. If you like Mecha Phantom Beast, this is your girl. The next character we're going to be talking about is Akari. Akari is going to be in the tournament. This is Yuma's sister. Yuma's sister uses an Evil Swarm deck, and honestly, her Ouroboros card has won her many duels. She's been top 4 in tournaments as big as 200 characters. Hell, top 3 in those tournaments. The next character is Yuma's Grandma Haru. Yuma's Grandma Haru is here, and she is going to be using her Unstoppable Steel Swarm deck. Her whole deck is based around tribute summoning, and honestly, with all the popping effects that come from this deck, she has taken out some of the strongest opponents in the game. The next character we're going to be talking about is Sanagi. Sanagi is in the tournament with her Madolche deck. Yes, those cute food cards are in the tournament. She's the one that uses Madolches, and she has triple tiramisu. Holy crap, is she annoying to fight, and yes, she is pretty damn good. The next character we're going to be talking about is Shuzo. This is Yuzu's dad, Shuzo. Shuzo uses Fire Kings. They are extremely good. He's been to almost every world tournament. He is a beast, and he burns people to death while also beating them to death, and he has complete field wipes. He's amazing. The next character we're going to be talking about is Reiji and his Triple D deck. Yeah, he's got the DDD cards. Overall, his deck is extremely powerful, very fast, and hits people hard. His only weakness is he burns himself to death sometimes. The next character we're going to be talking about is Hokuto. Hokuto's Constellar deck is very good at summoning some really high power Exceed monsters, especially Constellar Ptolemy M7. The next character we're going to be talking about is Masumi, a character focused around fusion and uses the Gem Knights. She's actually pretty damn good in our tournaments. The next character we're going to be talking about is Yaiba. Yaiba uses the XX Saber deck. His XX Saber deck has access to multiple special summons, multiple power gains, multiple destruction cards, healing cards, burn cards. He's got everything, and honestly, XX Sabers are pretty damn decent, especially when Hyun Lei comes around. The next character we are going to be talking about is Michio. Michio is a joke character that I'm going to leave a joke. He uses a Hungry Burger deck, and it's a food deck. The next character we're going to be talking about is Ada. Ada sucks. The next character we're going to be talking about is Mieru. Mieru is a character that started off kind of bad, but over time has gotten better. She is the Necros deck. She is actually very effective in these tournaments now, and her Necros deck is pretty scary. The next character we're going to be talking about is Gen. Gen uses the Battle Guard deck of our tournament, so if you like Lava Battle Guard, Swamp Battle Guard, and Battle Guard King, he's your man. The next character we're going to be talking about is Shun, a guy who recently went to the World Tournament with his Raid Raptor deck. This game only has like 3 Raid Raptor cards, but guess what? They're going to be used in his deck, and that's his deck. So, if you like Raid Raptors, Shun's the guy to vote for. The next character we're going to be talking about is a page 3 character, Simon. No page 3 characters are going to receive any edits, so I'm just going to say what their decks are. Simon is a remove from play, Gore, Swordsman of Revealing Light, Swordsman deck. It's weird. Swordsman of Revealing Light deck. Next up is Jamie. Jamie uses an Infernoid deck. Next up is Seun. Seun uses something interesting. He's also known as the real estate agent, as a joke. He uses a deck that is 99% monsters and runs Magical Merchant. His best card being the Dark Creator, Caius, and Chaos Sorcerer. The next character we're going to be talking about is Anka. Anka is a remove from play deck using all the DD monsters. DD Warrior Lady, DD Survivor, DD Warrior, DD Your Mom. I don't know. The next character we are going to be talking about is Natalie. Natalie is an interesting character as she uses a Ritual Beast deck. She's the only user of Ritual Beast and honestly has gone to Worlds with it. It's pretty damn impressive. The next character we're going to be talking about is Odelia. Odelia is a straight up burn stall-ish kind of deck. It's burn stall. It's weird, but I don't allow the big stall, so it's only burn really. The next character we're going to be talking about is Reyna. Reyna uses an Endymion the Master Magician deck focused around the field spell Magical Citadel of Endymion. The next character we're going to be talking about is Bright. This is another burn deck. This burn deck has no monsters in it. It's a straight up burn deck. Have fun. The next character we're going to be talking about is Ida. Ida is the character that uses the most spirit monsters. I know we have Noah Kaiba, but Ida uses all the spirits, including cards like Hinokagu Suchi and, of course, Orochi. So, that's all for Ida. The next character we are going to be talking about is Truman from GX. Truman from GX uses an upgraded Dark World deck that now has access to multiple Graphas. It's honestly going to be a menace in these tournaments. If you like Dark Worlds, Truman could probably get you there with his newfound support. The next character we're going to be talking about is page 3 again. We're back to page 3. It's Reyna. Reyna is one of the good page 3 characters as she uses a Zombie World Red-Eye Zombie Dragon deck. It's actually really effective. You should watch out for Reyna. If you like a Red-Eye Zombie Dragon Zombie World deck, this is the person you vote for. It's Reyna. The next character we're going to be going over is Callie. Callie, even after some changes, sucks. She's page 3 and she sucks. She uses a gadget deck. The next character we're going to be talking about is Moses. Moses uses a worm deck. If you enjoy worm monsters, and I mean Worm King, Worm Overlord or Queen, Worm Warlord, Worm Carteros, I don't know, a bunch of worm cards, this is your guy. It's Moses. The next character we're going to be talking about is Walter. Walter uses an underwhelming warrior deck with a lot of monster destruction and monster protection. He also is known to use an annoying card I don't usually allow, Rivalry of the Warlords. The next deck we're going to be talking about is Sarah. Sarah uses a Moja deck. That's right, a King of the Beast Moja deck. Her best power comes from her good, popping effects from her dog Raikou. She also has access to Raikou. Her deck is mostly based around beast monsters. And her boss is King of the Beasts. The next character we're going to be talking about is a joke DLC character, Goal with an Appetite. He has a terrible zombie deck. The next character we're going to be talking about is the Zombie Master himself. The character who's the placeholder for every fake character I had to create is going to be using his own deck. And guess what? It is World Tournament level. It's super good. It's a damn good zombie deck. It focuses around Zombie Master and Ill Bud. The next character we're going to be talking about is Kami. Kami is known for using a straight-up fish deck that runs United We Stand, TT, and of course, direct attacking Infected Male, which she uses with United We Stand and her Piranha Army combo. She's a super powerful fish deck. The next character we're going to be talking about is a famous page 3 character. It's Wisteria. Wisteria is the only character in our tournaments that uses a legit Demise King of Armageddon deck. If you like Demise King, she has actually performed extremely well in the biggest of tournaments. She has taken out the best characters with her Demise King deck. It is brutal. The next character we're going to be talking about is Alice. Alice uses a Yuria deck. Yes, the Sacred Beast Yuria. It's all trap monsters, and then on top of that, she just kicks your ass. The next character we're going to be talking about is Tasha. Tasha, for those of you that don't know, is the only legendary 6 Sam deck in the tournament. If you love 6 Samurais, legendary 6 Sams, she is the person to vote for. She will be performing well in this tournament, I hope. But she is going to be the person to vote for. The next person you guys can vote for in this tournament is Daisy. Daisy is the only Dragoonity user in our tournament. She has actually won multiple duels against hard opponents, and she's been top 4 before. Dragoonities are damn good. The AI doesn't use them perfectly, but they still use them well enough. So I would say watch out for Daisy in the tournament. The next character appearing in our tournament is a fun character named Lara. Lara uses a Skull Servant deck, and her Skull Servant deck has some of the best Skull Servant support in this game, including Magical Marionette to help throw them all away because she does not run many spells or traps. It's a very, very effective deck, but the AI can mess up with it sometimes. The next character we are going to be talking about is Yuji. Yuji is a deck out deck. He uses worm cards like Needleworm to deck out his opponent. It's actually pretty interesting. So if you like deck out, there you go. The next character we're going to be talking about is Ban or Bon. Bon uses a freaking Destiny board deck like Bakura, but with rock monsters. And his rock monsters are all about putting your opponent's monsters back in the deck, in the hand, in the stall. It's a stall-ish kind of deck, but no actual stall cards, just cards to slow down the opponent, like Legendary Jujutsu Master and Neospatian Grand Mole. So, overall, Bon has done really good with his Destiny board deck, but he does not work well against spell trap card destruction decks. The next character we're going to be talking about is Elgato Soro. You can just call him Elgato if you want. Elgato Soro is an insane Exodia deck. He uses Exodia mixed with Hope for Escape, which lets him draw up to like 10 cards at a time because he gift cards his opponent into a bunch of life points. His deck is all about draw power, and it is insane. The next character we're going to be talking about is Heize. Heize uses a Heretic Dragon deck. If you would like to go for a Heretic Dragon user, this is the only one, so you'd have to go for him. The next character we are going to be talking about is Eevee. Eevee uses a deck that is completely based around Gishkis. Her Gishki deck has actually won her quite a few duels and is pretty damn consistent. So if you like Gishki cards, vote for Eevee. Her name is IBI. The next character that you can vote for is I. I is spelled AI, by the way. She is literally spelled AI. I should just call her AI, but she is AI. So, I uses a Noble Knight deck. She has actually earned herself a nickname, the name King Arthur, because her Noble Knight deck is so good in our tournaments whenever she performs. Her Noble Knights are super effective, and honestly, she has access to some really good spells and traps. So, if you like Noble Knights, I is the person to vote for, or AI is how you spell it. The next character has actually been to Worlds. It's Corona. Corona is the only user of a Hazy Flame deck. She uses Hazy Flame monsters, including her boss monster, Hazy Flame Basilatris. Or Basilatris, I don't know how to pronounce that thing. What is it? It's like a bird. All I can tell you is that they've gone to Worlds for a reason. They're basically a really fast fire deck that beats down your opponent and then tosses their cards. The next character we're going to be talking about is Rinko. Rinko also has been to Worlds this season, and Rinko is super good because she uses a Mermail Atlantean deck, and honestly, it's super, super strong. So with this Mermail deck, I honestly think she can go all the way. If you like Mermail, she's the one to go for. The next character we're going to be talking about is Masato. Masato is one of the most interesting characters in our tournaments because guess what? He runs a Herald deck. Herald of Perfection. Herald of Ultimateness. Herald of Bitches has Honest. This bitch has Honest. God damn it. He's not bad. So if you want the Herald deck, vote for good old Masato. The next character you guys can vote for is Anshi, one of the few page 3 characters to actually win a tournament. Anshi uses a brutal Fable deck. His deck is literally freaking Fables, and they are powerful Fable cards. He has access to some of the best Synchro and Exceed monsters in the game, and is one of the only characters to have 2 Mirror Forces in his deck. I don't make his deck. His deck is just what the game is. He's really good. The next character we're going to be talking about is Akira. And yes, you spell Akira the way you think you do. Akira is an interesting character because he uses a Bujinji deck. His Bujinji deck has given a lot of characters trouble in the past, and honestly, the Bujinji monsters are super annoying. So if you like Bujinjis, this is the guy to vote for. The next character we're going to talk about is one of the only dinosaur decks left in the series. It is Rui. Rui uses an Evil Sword deck. His Evil Sword deck has really good Exceed monsters. Other than that, he does not perform that well. Evil Swords are interesting though, so let's see if he does better this season. The next character we're going to talk about is Takeru. This is one of the best insect decks in our tournaments. He uses Insectors. If you like Insectors, this is the only character you need to vote for because he's the only one that uses them. The next character we're going to be talking about is Koichiro. Koichiro is a brutal enemy as this guy uses Froggy Monarchs. Monarch deck built around Frog deck. It is super good, even in page 3 tournaments. The next character we are going to be talking about is Machina. Machina is the only Battery Man deck in the series. So, if you like Battery Man decks, this is the person to vote for. The next character to talk about needs no introduction. This is the multiple-time page 3 champion, world champion, Angera. Angera uses Quillforts. I am not joking, Angera uses Quillforts. Her Quillfort deck is insane, and she actually, in our tournaments, has summoned towers once, and it's the card that won her Worlds. In the very last duel at Worlds, she won Worlds using towers. The next character we're going to be talking about is Makiko. Okay. Makiko is probably a character most of you are excited to see. Her nickname is Merlin. She uses a spellbook deck. She uses a spellbook deck based around cards like World of Prophecy, Wheel of Prophecy, High Priestess of Prophecy, all those fun cards. Her spellbook deck has done so well that she's actually won a tournament. She is super strong and did really well at Worlds. The next character we're going to be man, all of these characters back to back are really strong. The next character we're going to be talking about is the only Shaddoll user in the tournament, Nene. Her name is Nene, and she uses Shaddolls extremely well. She has had some trouble against certain opponents, but overall, her Shaddoll cards are brutal, and she has access to a busted card called Super Polymerization. So, her Shaddoll deck is pretty damn strong. The next character we're going to talk about is the final page 3 character. This is Mai Zenba. If you would like to vote for this character, you must specify Mai Zenba or Wind Up Mai, because this girl uses a wind up deck. Her best cards are easily her Zen Meister, her Arsenal Zen Mark, and her Zen Mayonnaise, whatever. She also has a pretty good Carriers and Mighty, which is amazing. Honestly, her wind-up deck is pretty damn good. It's been so many good decks back-to-back. You gotta watch out for these page 3 characters, guys. The next character we're gonna be talking about is Paradox. Paradox uses his movie deck of freaking Malefic Truth Dragon and Malefic World. Overall, he does pretty damn well in tournaments. His only weakness is people that pop spells and traps, including his own field spell. The next character we're going to be talking about is from ancient Egypt. It's Mahad from the final season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. Mahad uses an Illusion Magician deck, which is actually what he's based off of, or what Illusion Magician is based off of. And honestly, his deck has super good access to Spellcaster and Spell Counter cards. He's a Spell Counter deck based around Illusion Magician. The next character is Mana. Mana is as well an old school, Yu-Gi-Oh character from the final season. Her deck is the Dark Magician Girl deck, and she's based around Maji Gal. Honestly, her deck has gotten a little bit better ever since, and I buffed it even more now, so she's someone you could vote for too. The next character is Akhenaten, Priest Zeto's true father. Akhenaten is an interesting character as he uses an old school zombie deck. However, his old school zombie deck now has access to really good synchro support cards, and now his Blood Me Fist card on top of his already good monsters can make him a true menace. Shadow Magus is the next character we're going to be talking about. The Shadow Magus is an interesting boss character that uses the Berserk Dragon deck. His deck is all high-level monsters that are easy to summon and have tons of attack points. Overall, he beats down his opponents and has won a tournament doing so. The next character we're going to talk about is Kisara. Kisara is literally the maiden with blue eyes, and her whole deck is around summoning Azure Eyes Dragon, Blue Eyes White Dragon. She is one of the strongest Blue Eyes decks, and in order to give her better support, she now has better trap support to make those dragons even stronger. The next character we're going to talk about is Shada. Shada is an interesting character because he uses a mythical Jackal deck. It's a Jackal deck. Basically, his whole deck idea is he summons his Jackal cards and then he makes it so you're infinitely looped to death, because he can constantly make you draw the same monster every single turn. His deck actually has countered so many characters it's kind of insane. The only problem is, if you kill him before he can get his tribute monster out, he's in trouble. So I've given him more special summoning support to make it easier for him to tribute his boss. The next character we're going to talk about is Is. Now, obviously, her actual name in the show is Isis, so just type Is, and I'll know who you mean. If you would like to vote for Is, she is a normal monster deck with the boss monster of Cosmo Queen, has a lot of support with the Tyrant cards like Tyrant Throws and stuff like that, and Justy Break. So she has a lot of normal monster support and skill drain. The next person we're going to be talking about is the father of fusion, Kareem. Kareem is the father of fusion, and he uses a brutal fusion deck. His entire deck is based around fusing old school monsters and one new monster that's very good called First of the Dragons. This card has countered so many people's deck that Kareem has actually won a tournament. Granted, it was the Spice of Life tournament, but he won a tournament. So his fusion deck is really, really strong. It's time to talk about everyone's favorite old school character. It's time for Burger King Bakura, otherwise known as Bandit King Bakura. If you would like to vote for this Bakura in particular, you need to write BK Bakura or Bandit King Bakura. I'll even take Burger King Bakura, fuck it. If you vote for this character, you're getting an Aliens deck, and it's damn good. He's won a tournament with it. He is damn good. The next character we're going to talk about is from the manga. It's David Rab. David Rab is one of the freaking planetary boss users. He uses the Big Saturn. His deck is built around machine monsters, and I've decided to give him more support buffing those machines like limited removal. The next character is also of the planetary people. It's Reggie McKenzie. Reggie McKenzie is going to be using her best card, Splendid Venus, and in order to give her deck more consistency, I've given her more special summoning effects to get Splendid Venus onto the field. Her high power fairy deck is actually pretty freaking effective, and Splendid Venus nerfs all of her opponent's monsters, giving her a good edge. The next character we're going to talk about is also from the manga and uses the final planetary card. It's Principal Mackenzie, a guy who went to Worlds because he's so good. Principal Mackenzie has access to some of the best cards in the game, including his boss monster, the Supremacy Sun, a 3000 attack, 3000 defense point beater monster that when it dies, it comes back the next turn. It's actually pretty crazy. On top of that, he also has zombie monsters giving him access to cards like Endless Decay. Overall, he got to Worlds for a reason, and he's actually pretty damn good. The next character we are talking about is Vizette. Vizette uses a Charmer Familiar Possessed deck. It is not good. The next character we're going to talk about is Shaman, or Shimon, or Shaman, I don't know. It's Priest Shaman, or Shimon, whatever you want to say. Priest Simon here is an interesting character because he uses an Exodia deck built around Solemn cards, like Solemn Judgment, Solemn whatever, there's other ones, Solemn Warning, I don't know. And also he builds it around Forbidden cards like Forbidden Chalice, Forbidden whatever, and has access to triple Sangan and triple Witch of the Black Forest in his Exodia deck. So yes, he wins duels. It's time to get into my favorite line of characters. It's Chaz VWXYZ. This is Obelisk Blue Chaz. If you would like to vote for VWXYZ Chaz, put VWXYZ Chaz or Obelisk Blue Chaz. This is the only way I'll know you're talking about this Chaz. He uses a legit XYZ Dragon Cannon, VW Catapult, VW XYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon deck. And I've given him more special summon machine support in order to make it easier for him to summon his fusion monsters. The next person we're going to talk about is Chaz Infernal, or Infernal Chaz. This is Season 1, Episode 1 Chaz. This deck is terrible. In order to buff it, I've given him more powerful Infernal Chinthonian cards. Overall, if you would like to vote for this Chaz, you're stupid, but you can still do it. His name is Infernal Chaz, or Chaz Infernal. The next character to talk about is my favorite Chaz. There are 4 Chazes, because we talked about Manga Chaz a long time ago. This Chaz is Armed Dragon Chaz. This is peak Chaz right here. Armed Dragon Chaz is super good. He's won a tournament. He's taken out some of the best characters in the game, including Yami Yugi. Honestly, he is someone to watch out for in these tournaments. I would vote for him if Joey didn't exist. The next character to vote for is Professor Satir. He is a joke. He uses an Aitsu Doitsu deck. I did what I could. The next characters we're going to talk about are from Forbidden Memories. It's time for High Mage Anubisius. He uses a very, very, very bad deck that I've buffed. It is a... it's Naturia's. Now, Naturia's are not very good, but I've given him more support, making it so he could summon Naturia's Synchro Monsters, because guess what? Naturia's Synchro Monsters are freaking busted! So, he's going to have better access to his Naturia's Synchro Monsters now. The next character we're going to talk about is High Mage Sekmatin. If you'd like to vote for this guy, he's the Water High Mage, which you can call him that. The last guy was the Plant High Mage. This guy's the Water High Mage. You can call him Water High Mage or High Mage Sekmatin. This guy is interesting as he has access to a lot of really good monsters like Deep Sea Diva, the Water Elemental Lord, and of course, his boss, Spiral Serpent. The next character we're going to talk about is High Mage Kapora, or Soijin Mage. This mage is interesting. If you like High Mage Kapora, it's because you've seen him in tournament doing really well. Kapora is fun to watch, as his deck uses a lot of Beast Warrior effective cards. Gene Wart Warwolf, Lycanthrope. He's got Shogi Rook for some reason. He's just an interesting character to watch and has won super often and has gone top 4 a lot. The next character we're going to talk about is High Mage Atenza. Atenza's interesting. Atenza's a character that uses a Winged Beast deck, and in his Winged Beast deck, he uses cards that are super good and super fast. However, his best cards comes from literally, like, the freaking Sigmorph card and the freaking Elemental Lord card. The next character we're going to talk about is the final High Mage. It's High Mage Martiz. Martiz is a High Mage you may have seen in Falsebound Kingdom, and in our tournaments he uses a dinosaur deck, a Fire Dino deck, and his high power, what do they call that, Dirac deck is super good because his Dirac monsters have burn effects, he has popping effects, and overall he is a damn good competitor, especially with his new buffs. The next character we're going to be talking about is Lorenzo. Lorenzo is from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. He's kind of a joke character. He likes to say forget about it, and he's like an Italian. All I can tell you is this. He uses BES core cards. Are they good? No. Did I make them better? Yes. If you like BES core, you can vote for this guy. The next character we're going to be talking about is Leon von Schroeder. Leon von Schroeder is a fun character from the Grand Championship arc of Yu-Gi-Oh! And in our tournaments, he uses a Gusto Dai Gusto deck. He is very good. His Gustos counter Mirror Force decks. His Dai Gusto cards are amazing. His Synchro Monsters are brutal, and he is an effective duelist. Is he the best, though? No, he has not won a tournament, but with a few buffs, I think he can do it. The next character we're going to talk about is Siegfried von Schroeder. This man is a menace. He uses a straight-up dad deck. I'm talking Dark Arm Dragon at its peak. This is peak Dark Arm Dragon, used by an ineffective AI, but has done so well in tournaments that not only has he won big tournaments, but he's won freaking... I mean, he's gone to Worlds for crying out loud. He's amazing. The next character we're going to talk about is an old school Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's character. This is specifically Enforcer Kallen. You must call him Enforcer Kallen or Team Satisfaction Kallen. That is it. Because there's Kallen in the tournament, you have to call this one Enforcer Kallen. Enforcer Kallen uses an old school Archfiend deck based around Summon Skull. You can almost call him a Summon Skull deck. The next character we're going to be talking about is Rick. Rick is a joke character from the Grand Championship arc. The best thing I can tell you about Rick is he uses an all-dragon deck with only one spell card, Heart of the Underdog. If he draws said spell card, he wins the duel thanks to his boss monster, Spirit Ryu. If he doesn't, he loses. I didn't change anything in Rick's deck. I can't. The only thing I changed is he no longer has a Destiny draw, which may help him. The next character we're going to be talking about is Ghost Kaiba. Yes, this joke character. Ghost Kaiba uses a Jin deck in our tournaments and is a weirdo. His Jin deck is super effective at getting out his Ganondorf card. I don't know how to pronounce the name. I call it Ganondorf. And honestly, his Jin deck gives him the ability to stop his opponent from special summoning. He's gotten top 4 multiple times and is a menace in our tournaments. The next character we're going to be talking about is Fake Jack. Fake Jack is a funny character because he's just Jack Atlas's old deck with Crimson Red Archfiend Dragon, whatever its name is, as his boss monster. It's pretty good. It's actually just a pretty legit deck. He has access to his older cards like the Multiple Piece Golem, the Infernal Winged Dragon, and of course Prideful Roar and stuff like that. It's a pretty effective deck. The next character we're going to talk about is a manga Capsule Monster character, Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great uses a army deck. The next character we're going to be talking about is Yami Alexander. This is the evil form of Alexander. He does not use a warrior deck. He uses a Reshef deck. His deck is completely based around his ritual monster, and he is pretty damn good. The next character we're going to be talking about is from the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds manga. It is Skeleton Knight, who's also Roman Godwin, but it's Skeleton Knight. Skeleton Knight uses a super effective zombie deck that is based around Dragon Necro. Overall, his deck is super strong, and he gives a lot of his opponents problems. The only thing he gets countered by is high defense, low attack point monsters. The next character we're going to talk about is Sect Ujin. I don't know how to pronounce his name. All I know is he's from the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds manga, and he is a weird one to vote for. He uses an insect deck that focuses around Great Poseidon Beetle. However, he has access to one of the strongest synchro monsters in the game. I have now made it way easier for him to summon that powerful synchro monster, the Beelzebub, whatever its name is. So, even though Sect did bad in the old tournaments, with his new buffs, he's going to be getting his synchro out a lot more. The next character we're going to be talking about is interesting. It is the Ultimate God. His name is Ultimate God. That is his name. If you want to vote for Ultimate God, go ahead. His name is Ultimate God. He uses Dragon Rulers, and I buffed the Dragon Ruler deck to not be so stupid. It's Dragon Rulers. The next character we're going to talk about is Manga Aster Phoenix. If you like Manga Aster Phoenix, it is going to be fun to vote for him because he uses Vision Heroes. He only has the Fusion Vision Heroes. The rest of his deck is all the heroes put together. And all the good ones like Stratos and Shadow Mist and Diamond Dude and all that fun stuff. He's actually pretty good. The next character we're going to talk about is Dark Trudge. Dark Trudge is an interesting character because his deck is actually built by my friend Jason, so I can't really tell you what the deck does. All I can tell you is that it summons these two boss monsters, Frozen Fitzgerald and Dark Diviner. The final character to talk about in our tournament is the last new character you will ever see in the Yu-Gi-Oh! CPU playlist. The Pharaoh. This is Atem's father. Atem's father will be joining our tournament as the last new character ever. He is using an Egyptian god deck with the hopes that he will summon the creator god. We might see it, but it will be an effective Egyptian god deck. I hope you all are ready. It is time for us to focus on the final tournament. You can vote for the Pharaoh if you want. His name is the Pharaoh. His actual name is way too hard for you guys to spell. I can't spell it. So his name is the Pharaoh. If you would like to vote for the Pharaoh, this is Atem's father. You can say Atem's father too. I'll understand who you're talking about. Put it in the comments below. He will be using an Egyptian god deck. A good one. I hope you guys are ready to vote for all of your characters. I've given you 300 characters to vote for. This is a double elimination tournament. In the comments, you gotta put I vote for blank and make sure you specify exactly who that person is. Because if they happen to use, if there happen to be two people, like Zane has two characters, you have to say Hellkaiser Zane or Dark Zane or regular Zane Truesdale. You have to say Jaden Elemental Hero. You have to say Master Hero Jaden. You have to say Alexis Society of Light. Alexis White, because at least that's what she's wearing. Alexis Cyber Blader. Alexis Cyber Angel. You need to specify. If you do not specify, it will not count your vote. Whoever guesses whoever guesses this right, whoever guesses the one character to win this final tournament will get the last save file I have. That save file will be sent to you. After that, it's all gone, guys. It's all gone. I hope you guys enjoy the final tournament. Place your last bet. You might as well. Who are you going to vote for?